Howdy, folks. Welcome to the home of Adventures in Alberon. Although we are not playing our regular campaign this evening, after more than a 2-year hiatus, we are playing Session 2 of Kobold Quest.
Kobe was.
I'm Joe Treff, your Dungeon Master for the evening. Joining me, as always, I have Matt and Tina, but Miles and Allie are away for this evening. So joining us again after a very long hiatus is guest player Michael. Michael, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me, as
Of
always.
course. And Talon, thank you very much for the subscription. So I'll get into the recap on what occurred on our last adventure, as it has been 2 years. But first, a couple of quick announcements. We do have a website, alberonrpg.com. There you can see a whole bunch of information about our campaign, about the world of Alberon, which is a sprawling, lore-filled thing. There's a 56, or maybe actually no, I think it's a 63-page document underneath the lore tab, which is the Dungeoneer's Guide to Dominion. That will have an update this weekend, which has been the first time in a long time I've had a chance to work on it. But that's very exciting. It tells a little bit about each class and race and where it fits into this world in terms of lore. So if you'd want to create a character or run your campaign in this setting, eventually that's what this is for. That is always going to be free at alberonrpg.com. We also have an Instagram. There is a lot of hand-drawn maps. There are miniatures painted for each session, although not this one because I lost it. It's somewhere around here. But I have a stand-in. We also have a whole bunch of really cool art that's made for us. We have dice that are made for us by awesome people like Drew at Dicey Encounters. So for all that stuff, to see it in a little bit better detail on Instagram at Alberon RPG, just like our Twitch name. So check that out. Next week, we are not going to be back to Adventures in Alberon. We are starting a 4-part mini campaign with Drew from Dicey Encounters, so I just mentioned. That is going to be entitled Bloodroot. It is going to be taking place on the west coast of Dominion. It is happening concurrent to our current campaign. It will have very, very large ramifications for the Finger Gang, our regular cast of heroes or anti-heroes or ne'er-do-wells, depending on your kind of perception or where you are. But that is going to be beginning next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be a 4-part mini-series. It is going to begin on the docks of Dungannon, and it will be a whole fun time, so check that out. And then finally, for most of the sound effects and the music that I am not making with my mouth, we are using Sirenscape, which is a program for dungeon masters who want to inject just a little bit of realism into their D&D campaign. It could also be used for you as a parent to inject a little bit of terror into your children's nighttime if they're not behaving, or whatever it is that you would like to do with this powerful digital tool set. So Sirenscape, check that out. Don't actually do that. And I believe with that, that is all of the announcements that we have for this evening. So with that, let me end our traditional Alberon theme, which thank you to 1000 Take Wonder on Reddit for, and we will jump into some Kobe Quest appropriate music. Just called Forest Planet. That goes as I get to jungle music. So, and I will preface this by saying way less preparation than we've ever done, or than I've ever done for a particular session. My recap says recap, but from memory. Blacktooth Clutch, when we last played. The 3 of you, part of a clutch, a single brood of kobolds that were all born together and served as an elite unit for your very underwhelming kobold force, a little bit north of Port Quinn. You all being elite, still not putting you at like a top tier combatant status. Nevertheless, 4 missions that require a little bit more delicacy than the traditional kobolds can muster. The Blacktooth are who are called. We have Etra, who is the Gloomstalker Ranger, played by Tina. We have Bonez, the Arcane Trickster, played by Michael. And then Chocco, the mushroom-clad druid, played by Matt. The 3 of you were searching for Krajek, your 4th clutchmate, the one that had gone missing. For those of you who follow along with our adventure, he was abducted briefly by Morwen of the Finger Gang, played by our friend Allie. You sought him bypassing a grung village and deciding to leave those slimy bystanders where they lay. You continued on your way and eventually tracked them to Port Quinn, or an area just outside. You found this coliseum where Krajek was being held, part of a night's entertainment for a fairly small assembled crowd, which included a few members of the campaign, specifically a Luktai, who you later found in Kulturam. You manage to put on one of the most ridiculous schemes that I've ever seen, which involved several of you piling up into a trench coat and transmorphing yourself into a hideous kobold humanoid standing upright. You somehow managed to talk your way past the guards and eventually, utilizing rope trick in a very creative way, rescue Krajek and escape on dogback into the night. Because that is what kobolds do. So our adventure is going to begin 12 hours later. It is the beginnings of autumn here in just north of Port Quinn. You guys are specifically south of Ironridge, the mountain that you all would call home, or beneath which you would all call home. At the moment, you have begun, after a long rest in which you leveled up to level 9. Congratulations. All that hard work pretending to be human. You took off again on your dogs. Chocco, you on your massive black cane corzo, this powerful dog that you specifically chose as it was the most powerful. Etra, you on a mastiff, a little bit happier, kind of the middle ground between the three of you. And then Bonez on this happy, joyous Saint Bernard, now a little bit more whimpery as it has not been fed. You have nicknamed this dog Stupid. And Krajek, your clutchmate, is riding a mastiff. However, let me cut us away from this music and kind of get us to something else here. So, that's a woodpecker for anybody who's interested.
Been hearing a lot more of those lately.
Yeah. They happen sometimes. So, we're going to begin in a very cinematic way. We're overlooking, in this camera view, a beautiful hillside. The grass is a little bit yellow. It is fall, but in this place where the trees do not grow quite so close together, kind of scattered 20 feet apart here and there, primarily oak trees, as some of you are more nature forward, you know this. Or sorry, not oak, white elm. You can see in this grass, it does get a little bit more sunlight, bits of green that stick up here and there, this deep into autumn. It is a little bit colder, and you watch as this small kind of white rabbit with a spotted flank is gently tugging at a little bit of bark at the bottom of a white oak tree. And then from this camera view, suddenly the bark that it's chewing just kind of stops and falls from the mouth as this rabbit looks up into the side, somewhere faint in the distance, barking. And if you guys could all roll 20-sided dice, we're going to figure out in which order this happens. Three. Great. Chocco with a 3.
This is a perception or just?
This is just a straight roll. Okay, 10. Great. We're doing great. Everybody below the average.
9.
Hey!
Strong. All right. The
Starting off strong tonight.
And then so Krajek. Ooh, every team needs an anchor. Chocco, you have polos. So, well, this is the one thing that obviously I didn't prepare for. Suddenly, over the hill, bounding, you could see this happy Saint Bernard. As it goes over the legs, and you can hear it barking. The eyes go over this rabbit, and you hear it woof in slow motion. I'm going to say, Bonez, because you are the one riding it, you suddenly see the slobber, the eyes widen as this dog spots this rabbit. The rabbit begins to bolt. What would you like to do?
Attempt to calm my dog from chasing the rabbit. So animal handling.
Animal handling. Go ahead and make an animal handling check for me. So this dog is beginning to turn. You can feel it slow motion. Your legs are beginning to leave the dog as it begins to turn very quickly.
Oh no. 1.
Oh. You go flying as the dog just goes digging off, into the woods. All of you watch as, could you describe what Bones looks like as he goes hurtling through the air?
Yes, he is a reddish tinted kobold wearing what seems to be a stitched together old potato sack with a bunch of belts wrapped around him. There he is. And he has a prominent snow globe attached to his belt,
Which
as
you
well
can
as
see
many,
flying and trailing behind as he goes.
as well as odd trinkets of trash, a broken locket, a shattered mirror, etc., etc.
Little trinkets and things come scattering into the ground, not flying away, but it is a small yard sale out around you. You can see little beads and buttons. There's a small dried beetle shell that onto a rock nearby. You come skittering to a halt, grass and dirt into the little bits of scales on your face, just in time to see the next dog, which, Etra, if you could go ahead and make a animal handling check as you come bounding over. Your animal also turning, spotting this rabbit.
23.
Your tiny arms, significantly more used to working with beasts of this nature, you tug back, maybe not mastiffs, but mounts of different kinds. You tug back hard on this dog, and it yanks its head away. It goes from this and just kind of continues to bound forward. Bones, you see this by you. Unless you would like to do anything in this moment, Etra.
Currently trying to catch my breath after that tumble.
Fantastic. Etra, after you go by, Chocco, you're at disadvantage. Could you please make an animal handling check as your dog comes bounding over? The much more aggressive Can Corzo, suddenly the ears flatten.
A disadvantage? That's
Yes.
a 15.
A 15? Okay. Even with disadvantage, you feel every muscle tense underneath you in this massive black dog. Even without pulling, somehow, from your and I'll just remind you, it was a natural 20 for your previous animal
mushrooms.
check.
And put a couple mushrooms in his ears, can't hear anything.
We'll get to that in a little bit. But even with your natural 20 that you got in the last animal handling check in our previous session, with that, it doesn't even require you to tug on it. It just settles and kind of continues following Etra. Bones, you are apparently left behind by your companions. Just in time to see the final animal pierce overneath. You see you see Krajek, Kobe, just hanging on to the edges of this dog. It goes bounding off and into the trees, and you see Bones just screeching. It just goes off into the brush. You see trees snapping and branches behind. So far, 2 of the dogs are in the woods. Bones, you are on the ground. Etra and Chocco, you are rapidly losing distance with the 2 of them. What would you like to do?
I mean, seeing them not catch up or like the dog's bounding off, I would stop the dog.
Okay, so you pull back and your dog slows down.
I think I would try to get my dog to catch up to them and get them back on the path with us.
Sure. Go ahead and make a, we're going to call this an athletics check for your dog. So roll a 20-sided dice, add 4 to that.
Okay. That is 23.
23. You lean in, and it's almost like this Cane Corzo on this weird kind of mushroomy kobold riding on top. Seems to almost be merged with your consciousness, and you turn, and it turns. Powerful legs carry your small kobold form over the ground, and without problem, you catch up with Bones' dog. You manage to get Stupid, who's kind of stopped at this point and sniffing at a flower, and grab it by the scruff. It kind of, you pull it along with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of, its head lowers, the ears go down, the tail stops wagging. But you begin to kind of trot back towards Bones. For what it is worth, Krajek, nowhere to be seen. The 3 of you, if you would like, now kind of group together. Bones, for what it is worth, make a dexterity saving throw retroactively, because I probably should have done that.
Can I try to perceive where Krajek
Make a
went?
perception check, absolutely.
Did I see where he went?
Make a perception check. We'll find out. Going back
Um,
to our forest music because I like it.
Oh, are we in sunlight?
You are in sunlight, so I will remind you, you're all at disadvantage on perception checks, and I believe one other thing. I can't remember what it is.
Attack rolls.
That little thing.
I got a 13 on my deck save.
Okay. Without issue, you managed to land gracefully on your chest. Straight up, still grass, dirt, but without damage. You all gather together on this gold green grass, parts of it pretty dry. You are all very grateful, or Bones, you especially, very grateful for your scales. Should you have skin, it would get torn up on this, but relatively unharmed.
I go over to Stupid and give him a bit of a scolding.
The second that you do that, make an animal handling check. Why not?
Here we go.
You see, he already looks cowed, ears down, tail kind of low.
All right, so that would be the animal handling is. So that would be a 7.
A 7. He looks up. You see the ears pop back up. The tail starts to wag furiously behind you, Etra. Or sorry, behind you, Chocco. And suddenly there's just big lick up your face. All the dirt and the grass just adhering now.
I give a smile and just start petting his stomach.
It just rolls over onto the ground. Dust comes up and settles.
What's it doing?
It's being a good boy. Good boy.
Not stupid.
Turns to you, Chocco. Chocco, make an intimidation check.
I was talking to Bones.
Oh, well.
What is my intimidation? I'm probably a pretty intimidating 11.
Little baby dragon 11. Licks you as well. Little bits of like mushroom and stuff, and suddenly
He
all of a sudden
gags a
the
little.
dog kind of lowers its head, and you can see it starts pawing at its snout. Did not like the taste of Chocco.
Wonderful.
Well, I'll take it.
You turn and look, and clear enough. Tina, what was your perception check?
19.
19. So as you all turn and look, and Etra, you in particular, especially with your set of skills, being kind of the Blacktooth, the most actual scout of the group, you peer in and you can see to your eyes a very unnatural sort of path, not a game trail, but a very recently broken element between these branches of white elm. I'm going to get it right one of these days. Right, oak. Oak is poisonous. Oh. What was that? White elm. So this is gonna be a tough one. All right. So you can see just off and into the canopy where the trees grow a little bit thicker and the ground kind of begins to gently slope, not a mountain, but like more of a hill. And this kind of oak forest spread out below. A little bit off into the distance, there is one tree that stands out. Most of these trees, kind of like oaks, you see a few, elms, I'll get it right, I swear. Elms, you can see elements of like little bits of underbrush, kind of bushes that for some of you who are more nature inclined, you might know are azalea bushes, now all kind of bare for the coming season. But it gets denser. And a little bit off and in the distance, there's one massive tree, although a lot of the leaves are falling off and it looks like it's dying. But there is a huge birch tree, massively squat, taller than the rest of the canopy. Not terribly tall, but just a big, chody birch tree. And you can see that off into the distance. However, currently you can just see this crushed bit of canopy.
That's wrong.
I'm gonna start moving in the direction
Okay.
that Etra is.
Are you bringing these dogs with you?
Does it look like we'd be able to pass through with them in this.
I mean, sure.
more
It's gonna slow you down.
Okay. I feel like having a big dog is probably a good thing, though. He's
You
on a
look
big
over
dog.
at Stupid, who is now just still trying to like paw at his tongue.
I'll take my dog.
I would like to cast minor illusion to create the sound of sorry, not the sound, the image of a rabbit. Continuously, just kind of have him follow it where we're going.
Okay. You know what?
Carrot and a
Sure.
stick.
You weave together. And what does it look like when you cast magic for those of people who have not seen this before?
I take my snow globe and shake it and chant in Draconic, and flecks of snow float around me.
Okay. So as you shake this globe and the little flakes inside begin to disrupt and shimmer, outside they seem to almost out of the globe spectrally and then begin to settle down, never actually creating any snowfall around you. Suddenly, these snowflakes begin to fall and form like a little snowman shape, but a rabbit. And the snow falls away, and this little illusionary rabbit begins to hop out. You can see Stupid turn and just start following it. And right now, you have Stupid just kind of walking circles around you, but you can kind of just control it wherever you want.
Well, bye.
So, are you following Etra into this canopy? Fantastic. Etra, you begin to like pull away bits of branch and follow. There are areas that have been snapped. It makes tracking fairly easy. But as you go further, you see an element where the dog kind of branches off, and maybe 5 minutes in, you come to this mastiff, similar to your own that Krajek was riding. It's now just kind of sitting, looking around, a little bit confused. And as you approach, its tail starts wagging and it comes up looking for food.
Do I see anything that would indicate where he went?
Make a perception check.
$18.
You see this dog come up, kind of go over and pat it on the head and look over. It was sitting no more than 5 feet away from a ledge. It's like an 8-foot fall. You climb up and then immediately duck down because there is bits of movement down there. You can see with that roll elements of stonework, a little different than the stone that you see around you. This is almost like sandstone, a little bit more like a yellow brown in nature, little bits of red kind of modeled in. It's like ruins of a building, perhaps. You see some statues with a 19, and they catch your attention. You see these kobold statues, each about 12 feet tall, that flank these large stone gates. You can see these little bits of vine kind of hanging off. It is quite overgrown. These kobolds have wings. Each one is grasping the end of a garland of small, rotund skulls that look too small to be humanoid and a little too round. For any of you who have fought and perhaps harvested gnomes, these are gnome skulls. This garland is about 8 feet across and creates a doorway between these stones.
Do they look like real skulls, or are they also stone skulls?
Etra, are you pointing this out to everybody?
Yeah. Quietly.
Chocco, make a survival check as you sidle up and squint.
16.
You look, and it's kind of tough to tell. There is like bits of moss kind of clinging to it. This is an old place, but probably a little too big to be real. Their proportions make it gnome-like, not the size. All around the gates, there are remnants of 10 feet high stone walls that at one point had these kind of dome-like tops. You'd imagine there was like a wall that allowed you to pass within. You can see these, and with that fantastic roll, Etra, the kobold statues have actually been defaced slightly. You can see the goblin or these like little goblinoid features have been drawn on in a brown paint, perhaps. And from this distance, that is what you see. And this is, I mean, it is 18 feet down, or sorry, about 8 feet down this ledge, and then another 100 feet through brush in the trees that you're seeing this. But as the trees move in this little bit of breeze, it's about noon, you're able to make it out through bits of movement.
Can we tell what's moving?
Make a perception check.
That is a natural 20.
It was a natural
Nice.
20. You go up, and as Etra points all this stuff out, you kind of begin to really get close, and you all watch as Bonez gets perilously close to the edge. You watch as the snow globe actually swings on the belt and almost knocks Bonez off, but Bonez, with this extra couple of inches, you just see two large green ears in the trees and then just kind of duck around one of the walls. You hear, even at this distance in the wind, faint little bits of goblinoid snickering.
Goblins.
Must go get Krajek back again.
What?
Must go get Krajek back again.
Krajek would be the Aarakocra.
Krajek.
Krajek, there you go.
Agreed.
I start taking out some rope and a very janky-looking rusted hook.
Okay. You can see this. I'm assuming it is like a grappling hook, or what is this?
So you know how grappling hooks have the 3 hooked prongs?
Yep.
It's that. 2 of the prongs are broken.
Nice. Okay. Not okay. So you have that.
I'm just gonna try to jump it with my dog. My dog can probably drop down to 8 feet, right?
We'll find out, I guess.
Did-
Okay.
Dog. Big strong
Didn't Joe
dog.
say 8 and then like 100 feet?
No, it's
That's like
8
down
and then,
the hill, 100 feet.
and then
So,
walking, right?
you know, I mean, it's down a hill. It's gonna be a little bit of stumble if you jump 8 feet first, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
The dog is big. He can handle it.
Yeah, impact with a tree. I'm sure it'll be fine.
He's fine.
Because you're
Big dog.
jumping into a forest. But yeah, it'll be
He's a
fine.
big dog.
So go ahead and make an animal handling check, Matthew, and then Michael. Go ahead and make an athletics or acrobatics check, your choice, with advantage as you're using climbing gear.
Nope. Acrobatics.
Etra, how are you tackling this particular issue? You watch as very carefully Bonez kind of takes this broken looking grappling hook out and very carefully straightens the one working tine before just hooking it in. It really could have been anything that he hooked in, and then just kind of starts working his way down.
Got a nat 20 again with advantage.
Stable, this single hook, very stable. You see little bits of like rock kind of as it digs deep into the mountain, and you just descend, no problem.
I mean, I'm gonna follow Bonez down.
Okay, yeah, no problem. And Matt, what was your animal handling check?
22.
22. So Etra, as your little kobold arms begin to lower you down, and you know what? You don't even have to make a check because this is already set up for you. You look up as there's a massive shadow passes, and you see this huge black dog with Chocco presumably on top, but from beneath you do not see him. He's too small. Just over top, and then disappears, crackling into the canopy. From your standpoint, Chocco lands and immediately has to zag out of the way of a tree. You'd imagine it was pretty high DC, but you begin to just gallop through the underbrush, snapping bits of azalea bushes by you.
I'm just, yeah.
As the two of you get down to the bottom, you turn and look, and you can see these little fungus bits kind of on the branches and broken, kind of brushed across elements of the trunk as Chocco passes by.
It's so noisy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to that point, as you gallop forwards, how close are you getting, Chocco?
They were like the 100 feet away, right?
Yes.
I would probably stay within the tree line and try to like get a better vantage point from where we were to where we are. Like, I'd say probably like stay 20 feet within the tree line, but
Okay.
like find a spot that's, not right there and apparent. And I would probably slow up my pace as I got closer so I didn't make as much noise.
And for what it's worth, as you ride this massive black dog through all of this fairly peaceful forest up until this point, excuse me, you're suddenly aware of the fact that the animal life around you, all the birds, kind of fly away. For the other two of you, Bones, as you're like coiling up your rope, you watch as all these birds kind of scattering as this huge, threatening-looking black dog with a kobold riding it begins to move. In the distance, about 60 feet off from you, Chocco, you hear this long, lone kind of fade off. For you, Etra, as a passive of 19, you suddenly hear a variety of goblin voices, and then you hear, at this distance, that's what you would hear. Chocco, you begin to get closer. You stay 20 feet within the tree line, which keeps you about 30 feet away from the edges of these rooms. As you draw closer, you don't see any goblins. You see the sort of crumbling element of what may have been a house or something at some point, although you see bits of decorative statue that do look draconic in nature. Mud has been tracked all over the structure, and you can see crumbling masonry is piled up over time. Grass and vines have begun to actually spread out between the bricks themselves. This place slowly being reclaimed by nature. Make a perception check, because the King Corzo kind of comes up to a stop.
Still at disadvantage, right?
This is perception check, so yes, you're in the sunlight. Yeah.
15.
15. You begin to look. Hang on one sec here. Dope. As your eyes kind of adjust to the moving trees and the shadows that move this kind of dappled light across, the ruins themselves only really have like the kind of vines growing around them. There's no trees immediately over top. The shadows a little bit more stable, and so you see the movement a little bit better. As you stay very, very still, your dog tense underneath you, you do notice 1, 2, 4 goblins in total that you can see. 2 of them kind of crouched on the right-hand side of this ruin. 1 is crouched under this lone table that seems to be kind of moss-covered and almost sagging over to one side, and then 1 hiding off to the left. In the one-shot planning, I will post.
Does it look like they're hiding in preparation for like an ambush?
It sure does.
Okay. That's what it seemed like.
If somebody wouldn't mind posting that in Twitch chat, that would be excellent. And Ali isn't here to do it. Matthew, I'm looking at you. That'd be dope. Thank you, sir. I'm springing this on you. This is responsibility. You can see all of this. And so for the rest of you, and for you, Etra and Bonez, as you catch up to this very quiet Cane Corzo, this rabbit, spectral, kind of leaping through. Your dog, Stupid, also now walking up and kind of chasing. Chocco, you hear behind you as this dog pounces after this rabbit and then waits for it to pounce forward and then pounces at this rabbit, still not understanding that it's not real. Chocco, you suddenly see some of the ears kind of move and go down as they all hide, now aware of this presence even more.
I think in Goblin, I'm gonna say,
Brothers!
Make a deception check.
ooh. That's, oh God, that's a -1.
A -1. Okay.
Woo!
Perfect.
Oh
You can hear off in the distance just little bits of chat. You don't hear any response.
I want to hide myself in the bushes.
Make a stealth check.
I'll follow suit.
Make a stealth check, Bones. And Bones, make it a disadvantage, please.
Dang it, stupid.
Yep.
24.
I can.
Etra, you melt into the shadows.
I mean,
I
that
can see that.
would have been a 29, but it's only going to be a 24.
Ah, only a 24. You hide. You see Stupid suddenly from your hiding spot. Look up. The ears go kind of down, the tail go down, kind of sad. The bunny hops off and he just kind of lays down, abandoned. You are now hidden. Etra, you feel very hidden. Chocco, suddenly you stand alone. And looking around, you just see this stupid dog. You see a spectral rabbit hopping off into the underbrush. And looking over at the goblins. Make a perception check.
Another 15.
You see a single goblin now hiding underneath this table. You can see in one shaky hand a tiny little short bow, an arrow knocked, still ready for battle.
I lost where the other ones are.
Yep.
Okay. I am going to dismount my doggo,
Okay, you dismount your noble steed.
and I am going to sick him on that gobbo.
Okay, so you point forwards, and as you're about to say the words, suddenly just off. And then I need everybody to roll initiative. This is how we're going to start it. For what it is worth, as this is all resolving, this dog, as it leaps forwards, is met by a significant and opposite force because a large creature steps out and to face him. I'm going to put this in one shot playing. This is the one thing you didn't see with your stealth check or with your perception check. There is a large white wolf, very large. This roughly the size of a brown or black bear. But that stalks out from behind the boulder. You can see one of the goblins with this huge toothy grin kind of vanish into the ruins behind. But hang on just one second here. Okay. And then we reverse in terms of I think that wolf is probably not going to get to go. All right. And then, Matt, if you could post that updated one in the chat, and then I'll also post. I wish I had thought to put the Cane Corzo in the photo, but I did not. Here's just a little cinematographical looking thing. But you can kind of see this wolf stalk out, easily twice as tall at its shoulders as each of you. All right. Anybody for perception checks? And actually, let me go ahead and change the music to something just a little bit more.
Perception or
Initiative.
Initiative. How do I post things in Twitch chat?
You copy it and then you paste it in twitch.tv/AlberonRPG. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
Oh, okay. I can't do it on my phone. That's. Give me a minute, everyone.
No worries, no worries. I gotta get this music going, anyways.
Oh,
So,
God.
anybody with a natural 20? Okay. Anybody 25 to 20?
28.
Dirty 20.
For a total of, dirty 20, so a total of 20. That's way the fuck up there. And then Bones, what'd you get there, bud?
16.
16. Almost at the bottom, but not quite.
I did good, but apparently everyone else did better.
And this is the Blacktooth clutch. It's kind of an elite big deal if you didn't know about it. So, as you guys all resolve, you guys may be 30 feet off in this tree line from the ruin's edge. You see this dog burst through the tree cover as it begins to approach the wolf leaning out. Etra, you are going to begin. Then the goblins will go. Then Chocco and the Can Corzo will go on your turn. Then Bones and Stupid will perhaps go on your turn. And then the wolf. So, Etra, what would you like to do? Goblins are on deck.
I can see the goblin the dog is charging at and the wolf pop out,
With
right?
your passive perception, you can actually see the goblin that is under the table. The
Mhm.
goblin on the left hand side. You see all the goblins at this point because they're beginning to spring out. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to target one of them with my short bow.
Okay.
Probably the closest.
Okay. That's the one kind of leaning with these two swords around the edge of this ruin.
That's a... Oh, I can't math. 28, I think. No,
28.
I lied. That's a 30.
A 30. Yeah, a 30 hits. Go ahead and roll damage on that. Damn. You see he has these two little swords, the big ears kind of up, this red cap over the large green head.
That's 7.
7 points of damage?
Yep.
You can see it hits him right in the shin, and you actually hear from behind this ruin, "My shin!" And that's 7 points of damage. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. That is Etra's turn. You're going to move anywhere?
No, I'm gonna stay hidden.
Okay, sounds like a plan. That brings us to these goblins' turns. So we're going to start with the one that you just shot in the shin. You see suddenly breaking cover, this goblin stand up and reach down, snapping this arrow off. From behind, he just holds it and looks up into the sky. Ah! Throws it on the ground, and he charges forwards at this Cane Corzo. It's the closest thing. And he's going to make his 2 scimitar attacks. You see this rusty, janky scimitar that's been filed down. The handle is like 2 hands, but the blade is just like a single scimitar for this goblin. That is going to be a 11 and a 7 to hit. So both, as he swings, this Cane Corzo just kind of like brushes and moves to the side. This goblin now like lands, almost falls because it did get him in the shin, and you can see blood just running down his leg. But he gnashes his teeth. This Cane Corzo gnashes its teeth. Suddenly, there is whistling as 3 goblins loose javelins through the air. These are also going to go at this Cane Corzo, unfortunately, because you're sending dogs into combat. First one is going to be a 15 to hit, which hits. Second one is going to be a 4 to hit, which misses. And the third is going to be an 18 to hit, which hits. Unfortunately for dogs, that is not a lot of health, but we'll see. So, Chocco, you watch as this dog breaks through cover, lands, and as this little goblin scimitars at it twice, the Cane Corzo dodges underneath and slides to the side. It takes 1 step forwards, the ears back, teeth bared, and as it takes another step forward, these 2 javelins into this Cane Corzo's side. There's this as it falls to the side, unconscious, but did absorb a whole bunch of attacks. That is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait,
Those are
my
the
dog
goblins.
was unconscious?
Yes,
Dang.
it's a dog. It doesn't have a lot of health. It's a big dog. But that is the goblin's turn. Chocco, what would you like to do?
Seeing this taking place before mine eye, I think it is time for me to cast a good old spell called Charm Monster.
Okay.
Ooh.
What level are you casting it at? And what does it look like when you cast magic?
I just kind of going, and fungus is spreading towards this creature.
Fantastic. So as Chocco lets out this strange little mutter, at first it's like a of spores that come out, and they almost begin to trace. I'm thinking like the mummy, these kind of lines of smoke that begin to kind of go.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's like the lichen is spreading or like the creeping vines, but like
Yeah. And as they do this, what are you targeting? You're targeting
The wolf.
the wolf. Okay. What is that? A wisdom save?
The DC 16 wisdom save.
That's a natural 20.
And
So-
oops.
And I think I'm just going to double check, but I'm pretty sure it can make, it doesn't get a negative, I don't think. That was for wisdom, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. And it kind of shrugs it off. You can see it bares its teeth at you, these huge yellow eyes, bloodshot, just bear down at you now, 30 feet away. 40 feet away. Anything else?
I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to grovel, cower, and beg. I'm gonna try to, I guess, move and hide as best I can without actually doing the hide action because this is not a bonus action for me.
So, for those of you who can see, you watch as Chocco just kind of begins to waddle off into the side. That is your turn, Chocco. Bones. You watch as this cane corzo just takes javelins to the chest and falls to the side. This one goblin shrieking out its victory cry, bleeding from the shin. What would you like to do?
I would like to cast a spell. And before I do, can I see Etra?
No.
Oh.
Is stupid nearby?
Stupid is about 15 feet away from you,
Okay. I am hidden, correct?
as far as you can tell.
I'm going to actually move towards Chocco and
Okay.
stand next to him, so I can take advantage of that pack tactics for advantage.
Sure. So you scurry through the brush and suddenly just rise up behind Chocco. You, even with your eyes closed, you can find him. He smells very distinct.
All right. I am going to cast Chromatic Orb.
Okay.
And
That
I'm
is a flat roll because you're at disadvantage in the light, and then you get advantage from pack tactics, I believe. So that is a ranged spell attack, right?
That is a ranged spell attack. Because I still technically get advantage, would that trigger my sneak attack?
So in the way that sneak attack is worded, I believe yes. I'm not even going to check it. This is a one shot. Yes, this does. We'll check it later.
All right, cool. I am going to throw a chromatic orb, and it is going to be a chromatic orb with, let's say, lightning damage.
Lightning damage. Okay, yeah.
All
So you
right.
pull out this snow globe, and as you spin your hand around it, suddenly little clouds form first in the snow globe, and then they begin to emerge and form outside. Bits of lightning begin to crackle around. Go ahead and roll your attack.
Okay. That is going to be
And this is at who? Sorry.
the wolf.
Okay.
We'll get to the other goblins. They know what they did.
And so what was that roll? Sorry.
So that was a that was an 11, but I'm going. I'm adding my spell attack, so that is a 17.
17 hits. Go ahead and roll damage on that. You see this wolf struck in the side. As you turn your hands, the cloud suddenly coalesces into a single orb before it spins. This is like a shedding lightning to the side, and it across the forest floor towards this goblin. Or sorry, towards this wolf.
All right, so the lightning damage is going to be 20,
20. Okay.
and then I get 5d6.
So sneak attack works on spell attacks?
Sneak attack states, once per turn, you can deal an extra 1d6 on one creature you hit with an attack if you have advantage on the attack roll.
All right. Yeah, there you go. I'll give it to you.
All right, so that's 9, 12, 18. So that is going to be 24.
24. So As this lightning-like chromatic orb spins across the forest floor, it strikes the wolf full on in the side. You see it closes its eyes and it's to shrug against it. The claws dig into the earth, but it still shifts a little bit, and the lightning like goes through. You smell burning fur. You see some of the fur turn black before the lightning into the other side, into the ground. Full damage. Very nice.
After that, seeing that the wolf is apparently still up, I'm
Oh, he
going
is.
to kind of and bonus action to hide.
Okay, go ahead and make your stealth check.
That's a nat 20.
Thank you, Tom. Nat 20. So you just like Homer Simpson into the underbrush and disappear. The snow globe is the last thing that just vanishes. But that is your turn.
Yes.
All right, that's it for Bones. That brings us to the wolf. The wolf stalks forwards. It is going to. It doesn't want to do that. It is a rough idea as to where you are. Visualizing this, you said you were within 5 feet of Chocco, correct?
Yes.
So seeing Chocco, it's going to turn its eyes on you, Chocco. It's going to stalk forwards. Go ahead.
Did it move within 10 feet of me?
It has not yet, but it is going to. It is not, actually. It's going to come within 15 feet of you. It's going to stop and rear back. And as it does, you see the fur bristle around its shoulders and up its neck. The eyes, formerly yellow, suddenly blaze with this wintry intensity, and it exhales a blast of freezing wind in a 15-foot cone. I'm going to say, to determine whether or not it hits you, Bones, go ahead and roll a 2-sided dice. You have a coin on you?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and flip that coin, or roll a d6 and figure out a halfway mark there.
All right. See, I'm gonna call heads.
Okay,
That's heads.
that's
Call
heads. So go ahead and make. I'm going to need you and Chocco to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Okay.
It's look like.
Oh, nice. Dex save. Oh, that's okay. It was a 16 for me.
16. Okay.
That is going to be dexterity saving throw, so that is going to be a 8 from me.
An 8.
Yes.
Okay. So as this creature lets out this cold, wintry intensity breath, it spills across this 15-foot cone. You can see the leaves freezing and shattering in this wind. Bones, you take 19 points of cold damage.
Evasion will be happening, so I'm going to take half of that.
There you go. So you're taking the same amount as Chocco, which is going to be 9 points of cold damage.
I'm going to use my reaction to cast Absorb Elements on
There
that.
you go. So as a reaction, what does that look like? How do you cast that?
I feel like it just kind of hits me, but it doesn't seem to affect as much, and it just sort of displaces some of my mush.
So as this winter goes across you, you watch as bits of the spores suddenly freeze and then fall off, not dealing quite as much damage to you. But you watch as elements of your spores die.
I am going to use my reaction as well for Uncanny Dodge to half the
Okay.
9.
All right, so there you go. 4 points of cold damage in total. You first evade, and as the still kind of spills over you, you flatten to the ground. Your tail goes down, your ears go down. You make yourself as small as possible, and most of the wind goes over your back. That is going to be the wolf's turn. That brings us to the top of the round. Etra, you are up. Goblins are on deck. What would you like to do? You can see this wolf now inhaling again, the cold beginning to kind of like break away from its mouth, actual icicles from its fangs falling away.
Are the goblins all clustered up?
At the moment, you can see all the goblins. The only two that are clustered up are on the right-hand side. They seem to be kind of like hiding. They now have swords drawn. They had just thrown their javelins.
Okay. And where are the other two?
You can see one now on top of a table, reloading his short bow. and you can see the other kind of off in the corner now also drawing his swords, having thrown his javelin.
How far apart is that goblin from the wolf?
Only about 10 feet.
Okay.
Sorry, no. The wolf moved, 15 feet, because the wolf moved forward and around. Didn't move that far away from him, but is just a little different direction now.
Okay. I am going to cast Spike Growth, and I
Okay.
want to center it so that way the wolf is still on the edge of it, if possible, and the goblins have to pass through it if they're coming closer.
How wide is the...
It is a 20-foot radius.
Absolutely, sure. So how does it look when you cast the spell?
Pull a little twig out of my pouch and stick it into the ground.
So nobody can see you because you are basically invisible, but you take the stick, and as you dig it into the ground, nothing really happens. It's literally just you mushing this twig in. There's no direct connection, but on the other side, suddenly you guys feel this rumble in the earth, and these large, twisting, thorny vines begin to writhe across the ground. You see the wolf suddenly begin to step back. You hear little goblins begin to yell. Does that's only when they begin to pass through, they make movement,
When they
right?
move into or within the area, they take 2d4 piercing for every 5 feet. It is also difficult terrain.
Damn. Okay. For these little tiny guys, that sucks. And you can see as that like opens up and begins to through the ground, it encompasses the area that includes one of the goblins and the wolf, and that other goblin is now cornered into the ruins and cannot exit that corner without passing through at least 5 feet of that. So well done. These twisting, thorny vines and growth, breaking bits of the sandstone, this ancient ruin now falling a little bit. You could see the dirt displacing into the ground. Stupid, the dog, you can hear just bounding, barking, scared off. There's a little pea trail that goes into the woods. But fantastic. Anything else, Etra?
That's it.
Okay. You just kind of, again, just duck down into the underbrush, still mashing the twig into the dirt. It is the goblin's turn. So, first, this goblin that's now just standing in the open, completely alone, looking around, sees Chocco and is going to rush towards you. This is the only one unaffected by the spiked growth. It is going to close and make his attacks on you. Chocco, these are going to be 2 scimitar attacks. As it swings two-handed, this one-handed scimitar.
Does he get within 10 feet of me?
He has to get within 5 feet of you, yeah.
Okay, when he gets to 10 feet of me, he's going to get some Halo of Spores damage with my
Okay, so-
reaction.
Go ahead. You've already used your reaction.
Top of the
Oh,
round.
right, because I haven't gone yet.
This is the new round.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is
it-
the new round, right?
Doesn't this?
No, but
doesn't
it's
the
not
reaction
till-
sets on the turn?
Yeah,
Okay,
so it's my
Because you get
turn,
one
yeah.
reaction per round, and it resets
Yeah.
on your turn.
got it.
So, you are unable to do that, unfortunately. However, he surges forwards. This little swinging down. The first attack is going to be a 6 to hit
Nice.
into the ground. He has to plant a foot into a rock, pulls it out, almost falls over backwards, and then swings again. That's Jumanji's. That is going to be a 14 to hit.
Nice.
Into the ground. He looks at it, just furious, little bits of red kind of clouding his cheeks, blood pouring down his shin. That is his turn. That brings us to goblin number 2. He is going to try to pass through the spiked growth, but he is going to try to use his action to parkour off the wall and do it. This is going to be a goblin acrobatics check. They have no bonus acrobatics. That's an 18. So this goblin, you watch as he runs, grabs hold, and just kind of propels himself over the wall. He eats shit on the ground, but kind of rolls up and pulls himself up. He runs up and is now 5 feet from you, Chocco. So there's 2 goblins in base contact with you.
Damn.
The goblin on the table is not going to move. He's just going to take a shot with his short bow because you're the only one he can see, also at you, Chocco. This is a... This is going to be an 18 to hit.
Ooh, that just hits.
That just hits. You watch as this javelin does full 6 points of piercing damage. Arrow. Right into your shoulder. The other one with its swords is going to rush through. It's going to have to cross through 15 feet. Um, it does not see or seem to understand this underbrush, so it begins to try to just like scream and go through. How much damage is
It
that?
is 2d4 for every 5 feet, and his movement
Okay.
is halved.
So roll 2d4 first. We're going to do this in increments because he may not make it through.
That is 4.
4, okay. He moves another 5 feet. You watch as first he's just like just those aren't goblins, and he just kind of gets caught up in this. The scimitar like held high. Roll again. He begins to kind of pick through 6. 7, 16, 13. He's now like his whole shirt ripped away. You see a little tiny goblin 6-pack, more from the fact that he's kind of emaciated, not really muscular, but he's still surging forwards.
8.
8. Ooh. Hang on one sec. And you watch as he gets the last 5 feet, the skin now kind of like pulled away, and he just slumps unconscious in the brush, just completely just starting to bleed out. doesn't have a lot of health. But that is goblin number 3. That brings us to... No, that is all the goblins. That brings us to Chocco. Then Bonez, you're on deck. Chocco.
Okay, so the 2 goblins that are left are standing right near me, right?
So directly in front of you, there are 2 goblins with scimitars out. 15 feet away from, or 10 feet away from you, now hanging, suspended by these vines. You see a 3rd goblin, the swords clang, clang from his hands. He's unconscious. And then you can see a 4th goblin now reloading his short bow up on a table, probably about 25 feet away in the ruins. The wolf is also maybe like 10 feet away from you.
Okay, so I'm going to use Confusion on a spot that I think should be able to get the wolf and the 2 nearest to me goblins.
Okay. What is the area of effect?
It's a 10-foot radius sphere, so 20 feet circle.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. No problem.
So yes, I'm going to cast that spell. As I crouch down onto the ground in a grovel, cower, and beg-like manner, there's just like a poof of spores that come off of me.
These
Sphere.
bright pink spores. And that is what kind of saving throw?
Wisdom.
Okay, so that is a 18 and a 16 for the goblins, and then a 7 for the wolf. But the
nice.
wolf gets nothing. So yeah, 18, 16, 7.
It was, I believe, a DC 16.
Okay, so the 2 goblins succeed. The wolf fails.
Yeah, wisdom 16.
So this wolf, as it kind of inhales, the ice breaking away, suddenly it kind of looks, one of the eyes kind of crosses, then straightens back out, and it kind of turns. One ear goes down. It looks kind of weird, but that is all that you could tell for the moment. So it is considered confused now, correct?
Yes, it is. Well, it's it can't take reactions and must roll a d10 at the start of each of its turns to determine its behavior for that turn. And there's a little table for
Love
that.
it. I got the table. So
Yeah.
here, I'm gonna have you tell me on the table. I think that's more fun.
Okay, I get to roll more die.
Chocco, anything else?
There are 2 gobos, there are 2 gobos within my range, right?
They seem unaffected by that.
I guess, let me just see, because I think I can use my, I'm gonna try to go back toward the shrub that Bonez is in.
Okay. You back up a little bit until your foot suddenly kicks into Bonez.
Ow.
And then I'm gonna just kind of crouch and, get into my spore groveling and begging stance.
So the smell intensifies a little bit, Bonez, and then suddenly you feel Chocco's heel just kind of dig into your stomach as he finds you. But Chocco, that is your turn, and Bonez, your turn begins.
I pop out of where I am, gasping for air.
Okay, so from the underbrush, Bones suddenly appears, sucking in oxygen.
So what is near me currently?
So as you pop up in front of you, you see this winter wolf. Although it looks a little funky and it's kind of like staggering a little bit, you can see to the left of that, maybe like 15 feet away from it, this duo of goblins that are directly in front of Chocco, or yeah, directly in front of you. Yeah,
Are they all kind of in front of me?
that is a
together?
straight line, and then the wolf is off to the right a little bit, probably about 15 feet off.
All right. I just need to check something real quick.
Sure. The wolf is on deck, and then after the wolf, we're going to be back to the top of the round, which is you, Etra.
All right. I'm actually gonna cast Burning Hands.
Okay.
You get pack tactics, right?
But Burning Hands is not attack; it's dexterity
Oh.
saving throws. So
Okay.
unfortunately, this won't trigger my
Tactic.
my sneak attack.
And so are you doing this on the two goblins?
The two goblins. Is there a way that I could get the Winter Wolf?
It's one or the other because of the way that Burning Hands works.
Okay, with a 15-foot cone.
Yeah, 15-foot cone, because it's about 15 feet across. So you could get a goblin and the wolf, or you could get both goblins, or just the wolf. If you, for
The
some
wolf
reason,
is
want to do that.
confused.
He is, and you see it looks a little weird.
Okay, let's just go for the goblins then.
Okay, sure. So dexterity saving throws. That is going to be a 16. That's both six. It's a 16 and an 18 again.
Dang.
However,
What's up
I
with
believe
these
it's
wise
still half damage.
goblins.
I don't know.
Dexterous goblins too.
This is my goblin dice that I'm using, and I'm using the non-gunter killing dicey encounters dice.
All right, then that means that they are going to take half damage. So that was a 6, a 4, and a 6.
A 6, a 4, and a 6.
So 18, but they both take half.
Okay, so it's 9 points of damage each. And you watch as this fire out towards them. It kind of goes across, and they shy away, baring their teeth, but little damage.
All right, I am then going to attempt to. Are they right in front of me? If I move away, would they provoke attack?
No, they're 5 feet. So you have 10 feet away from them because you have
Okay.
Chocco between you guys.
All right, cool. Then I am going to step back, attempting to go behind either trees or brush, and bonus action to hide.
Okay, go ahead and make your stealth check. You step back and seem to fade into the underbrush, perhaps.
Hopefully.
How much?
Sorry, one sec. It fell off the table. Ah!
The worst.
I know, right? I haven't rolled dice in a while.
Welcome back.
That is going to be a 21.
21. So you seem to kind of vanish off and into this underbrush. Just are you moving like 10 feet away? How far are you going back?
15 feet.
15 feet. So you just kind of waddle through the underbrush, standing up and then tucking your back up against a tree. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. The wolf turns, and again, Chocco, you stand alone, abandoned by your shellmates. The wolf is going to see if its breath reloads, which it does not.
And if it's confused.
This is correct. At the top of the round, it is going to roll a 10.
Oh man. Oh wait, I thought I was rolling it.
What does it say?
Oh, I mean, let me actually see.
Yeah,
I think you can roll it. I just thought that you were gonna have me roll it, but that's
I was just going to roll it, but I don't have the table up. So you tell me.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, let me pull that table back up then for you. So I believe on a 10 it gets to act normally. Yeah.
Okay. So suddenly this wolf, Looney Tunes style, just like shakes its head, straightens out, and it is going to come It's going to close the 10 feet between you two. It's going to land. So if you'd like to use your reaction, you certainly can.
Yeah, I'm going to use my Halo of Spores on it.
Sure. So it steps in and kind of closes the distance.
So it's going to take 5 necrotic damage.
So as it comes close, growling, you can see it squinting an eye as this bits of fungus begin to kind of crawl across the fur.
It's got to make a con saving throw, actually.
That's a natural 1.
And it takes 5 necrotic damage.
There you go. It's adding up. So these bits of spores and fungus begin to crawl across the white fur, but it still approaches. It gets right into your face and it's going to snap at you with its teeth. That is going to be...
Did it move out of the spike growth?
It did. Sorry. So that's 10 feet of spike growth movement. So go ahead and roll that damage.
It's 4 for the first 5.
Okay.
Nice.
And 6 for the second.
Nice.
So you watch, it takes the first 5 feet. It begins to kind of bound forwards, but you hear the vines snap and tear as the actual fur is left in clumps. You see elements of blood kind of smearing as it moves. It snaps again and moves 5 feet forward. It has to like crack and bite at these elements of growth coming at it. All of a sudden, the spores begin to peel away, and it's forcing its way through. Finally, it gets to you, and it snaps at you. Yeah, but I mean, you guys are doing a lot of damage to it for walking. That's only going to be a 6 to hit.
Oh, nice.
So it begins to snap forwards, and as the teeth close right over your face, one of these branches from the spiked overgrowth catches at the back of its jaws. The teeth are actually touching your cheeks, but do not quite close, and it pulls away and snaps the wood, just splintering to the sides. Begins to growl. That is going to be its turn. That is going to be its turn, however. That brings us top of the round. Etra, what would you like to do? Goblins are on deck.
How close is the wolf to the 2 goblins that were attacking?
Off in the distance, Etra. You pop up from the underbrush. You can see the goblins closest to the wolf. You have 2 goblins within 10 feet of the wolf now. And you have another one that's about 25, closer to 30 feet away now. Still up on the top of that table.
Okay. I am going to cast Lightning Arrow, which, as part of that, is a weapon attack, so I'm shooting with my short bow, and if I hit, I'll do lightning damage instead of...
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
For a really high number, 28.
28. So as you pull this arrow out of your little kobold quiver and pull it back, one long scaled finger kind of strokes the side, and these little bits of draconic trace across the shitty kobold arrow. And as you release, sparks from behind, leaving a swirl. This streaks forwards and strikes. Go ahead and roll damage.
That's 20 points of lightning damage.
And which goblin is this?
No, this is the wolf.
This is the wolf. So as the wolf kind of snaps this branch, it growls, it gets closer to you, Chocco, and closer, and suddenly there is this as it suddenly surges forwards and to the ground in front of you, dead.
And then each creature within 10 feet of it needs to make a dexterity saving throw.
Chocco, go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw along with these 2 goblins. One of them is a 10 and the other one is a 14.
Both of those are going to fail. Ooh. It's a 17.
Nice.
17.
Mine was a dirty 20. So.
Dirty 20, so you succeed. How much damage?
13.
13.
And Chocco's taking that halved.
So this arrow streaks forwards, it hits the wolf and digs deep. The lightning out the sides of it, and the stomach bulges for just a second, Chocco, over the stomach of the wolf, ruptures, spewing guts all over your face. The lightning ruptures out with that, striking each of the goblins, sizzling through this viscera. The goblins are struck straight through the chest on each one. Both stiffen, and then their ears straight up, little sparks flying off, drop dead to the ground. They're all dead.
Damn.
Well done. There's this lone goblin now. His ears flop down. He's like holding the arrow, but begins to put it back. But anything else, Etra?
I'm gonna hide again.
Okay, go ahead and make a stealth check. A bonus action. Fading in.
For 23.
Yeah, so you pop up, let loose this lightning arrow that kills everything, down into the underbrush, gone. Even in this daylight, perfectly fine. That is your turn. That brings us to this lone goblin. All of you turn to see this goblin, like putting the arrow away. He kind of puts the crossbow away, and you can see with the ears down, he goes, I gotta tell Shankroot about this. And just leaps the wall, and you hear as he scrambles off into the underbrush. He's going to take his movement, his action to run. Let me just see if he can also bonus action dash. Pack tactics. Oh, wait, wrong thing. Nimble escape, which can take disengage or hide. So, nope, he's just going to run. That is his turn. That brings us to Chocco. Chocco, you see in front of you now, as you like crackle with little bits of electricity, the goblin's dead, the wolf dead. And looking around, you see no other opponents. For this brief moment, I'm going to take you guys out of combat. Well done. The small kobold band sings. Etra, you hear from your hiding place, but so you all kind of looking around, you can see there are 3 dead goblins, one kind of suspended from a bunch of vines. You can see 2 that are now crackling. One of them still the leg every now and then kicks fully upright and then falls to the ground. You can see the mount that you rode in on, Chocco, unfortunately, javelins in its side, now kind of dead on the ground. You see the little pea trail off into the woods that would indicate Stupid still very much alive.
Where's Krajek? Still don't know. We're still looking.
One of them got away.
How's that way?
You all turn and look. Make a perception check, all of you. You follow Bones' outstretched little red kobold finger.
Man, I love these watermelon dice. Another nat 20.
Damn. Okay.
Dirty
follow.
20.
Okay.
I had a 24.
All of you easily follow the expert tracking and guidance of your friend Bones. Following the little, still kind of shaking finger, you can see broken underbrush. You see a sort of tunnel. Etra, to you, this is different because you do see a little bit more like a game path or otherwise well-traveled route. This is kind of like broken and established. You don't see like broken snap twigs. You don't see bits of fur and things. This is an established path, and it leads further into the forest. And with that roll, you can see footsteps, footprints. It looks like other goblins, perhaps. You don't see any sign of Krajek's kind of little paw prints. However, you do notice it seems as if with your expert tracking ability, they're a little bit heavy, these goblins. Too heavy for goblins. They're probably carrying something. You'd imagine Krajek. Or, Etra would imagine Krajek when Etra comes back.
A Krajek-sized thing.
A Krajek weight object. You don't really know the size, but all of you can see this path. It's very evident. That's the word. Elegant 2.
Huh.
What would you like to do?
I would like to follow the path.
Okay.
I want to just do a cursory look at all of the bodies to see if they have anything on them.
Make an investigation check. Absolutely, yeah.
Specifically, anything that like belonged to Krajek
Okay.
that he might have had. Is investigation 18?
18. So you go over, and as you pull through, you find a couple things. You find a rabbit fur that seems to be wrapped around something, and as you kind of unravel it, there is a glass jar within, and you can see a bunch of pickled animal feet of some kind and this kind of briny-looking liquid. You go to one of the other goblins, and you find it smells, for you, actually not that bad. It smells kind of good, but a little tacky. It is the corpse of a woodpecker. And as you look at it and kind of pull it apart, it's being used as a coin purse, although it has not been like tanned or anything. It's just the corpse of a woodpecker. Within, you find 2 gold pieces, 24 pieces of copper. It's like full, and a 3-inch segment of twine. You can see over on the table, if you very carefully pick your way through this spiked growth, there is a short bow, 4 short bow arrows. In one of the goblin's possessions, you find wooden slats that come together in a weird mechanical way. And as you pull it out, it is the wooden skeleton of what looks like a gnome's wooden parasol. You also find a sewing kit that is missing all of the needles. And with an 18, you find a tiny, little, and yet very old key.
Okay. I'm going to take the key.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the dead woodpecker, and I'm going to dump out all the coins and then keep the woodpecker.
A lot of the coins kind of clump together as they hit the ground, congealed bits of woodpecker viscera holding them together.
I'm just going to like slap that bad boy onto the back with just to get more rot for the spores.
And it just adheres. This is dead woodpecker. And as Chocco kind of moves his little hands, you watch as the fungus itself begins to kind of crawl over top.
I am very tempted to use prestidigitation to clean you.
That would not end well for you.
So you have all these belongings that you would like to take. You kind of cast the rest that you don't want on the ground.
Yeah, I think that's all I want.
All right.
Is there anything? Does it look like the key goes to anything around?
With that investigation check, you didn't find anything, but you weren't really looking. Make another investigation check as you begin to look around the ruins, pull bits of moss away.
It's a 19.
A 19. With a 19, you kind of move things around and you don't find anything. You kind of turn to walk back, and as you do, your foot kind of hits a hollow part of the stone. You turn and look, and the stone very much painted wood. And you can see, although there is bits of dirt kind of caked into the keyhole, there is a place for the small key.
Oh, I'm unlocking the crap out of that.
Okay, literally, you have to scoop with your little kobold fingernail bits of dirt and crap out of the lock, but you fit the lock in, it turns easy enough. You open this door?
Yeah.
You open it and look down. It's only about a 5-foot drop, and it's a kobold size shaft. You can see dug into the earth itself. This seems to be a kobold tunnel. Part of this structure, perhaps previously. It's old, but you see signs of it being used recently.
I'm gonna be like,
the spores lead us to a tunnel. A tunnel.
I'm hopping down the tunnel.
I'm gonna follow him.
Yeah.
You all.
I'm assuming that the tunnel leads in similar direction toward.
It does, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Seems to lead deeper into the forest. So you enter these kind of kobold carved tunnels, all of you, as you enter, feel the embrace of darkness, the sunlight blotted out by the elements of dirt and earth over top, and you feel much more comfortable. The ceilings here are low, it's only about 5 feet tall, but it's like the earth hugging you and welcoming you back. This has been made by kobolds. You can see the familiar marks along the walls. You see the ground carefully hatched so that your talons, your little claws, don't skitter across. You see here and there little offshoots where kobolds could hide or nest, or possibly kind of take shortcuts around slower moving kobolds. But they all lead back to this main kind of path. You guys continue to walk.
Yeah, I'm just like touching the walls, letting all my fungus spread free.
Great.
Unbeknownst to him, so I don't have to touch any of it, I'm gonna prestidigitation where I don't want to touch.
So as you're moving, you're kind of holding up your little elements of kobold clothing and casting prestidigitation with your foot as you touch each single step. The fungus on those elements of stone just kind of away. You begin to progress down this tunnel of dirt and earth and stone. It's uneven and it gets a little bit larger, a little bit wider as you go until it's 10 feet wide, only 5 feet high still. But as you're progressing, Etra, you hear it first, and then suddenly Chocco, and then a little while later Bonez. You can hear what sounds like stone shifting. It's hard to kind of tell what it is. And you hear as you get closer elements of maybe like a mechanism moving. You get to a point where this 10-foot wide path kind of curves up and then down. It winds a bend, and you hear this noise louder and louder. You also hear grunting, and you hear squeaking. It's kind of repetitive of like a mechanism kind of moving. The grunting, I would say, Chocco, you hear the sound of a boar off in the distance. But because it is 10 o'clock, this is where we're going to take our break. So it is 10 o'clock. We have a little timer, which is going to be in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. When that hits 0, we're going to be back. But until then, go ahead, take a quick break, go to the bathroom, get some food, get a beverage. We'll see you in just a little bit.
This way? That way.
Oh wait, that one?
Alright.
And welcome back to the home of Adventures in Alberon and the current home of Kobe Quest 2, or Kobold Quest 2, the Green Meanies. Kobe Quest. I did Kobold Quest for people who don't know who Kobe is, because otherwise it's like, all right, these guys are doing a state-themed one-shot. All right, I don't really know how I feel about that. But no, this is a Kobold-themed one-shot / two-shot, although each adventure happens about 2 years apart in real-world time. So it feels like a one-shot, I guess.
But like, man, Kobe's getting kidnapped left and right.
Yeah, I know.
Free for like 5 minutes.
No, he was free for 13 hours. But yes, currently seems to be captive. So, when we began, you all riding on your noble dog steeds, half of you, Krajek and Bonez, lost control as your dog saw a rabbit on the hillside and chased it off into the woods. You regrouped, pursued Krajek and the remaining dogs, and found yourselves confronted by goblins. You immediately confronted them, and well, actually, no, that's not true. You did very briefly attempt a very poor negotiation with Chocco attempting to convince them that you were all goblins as well. But as 3 kobolds do not look like 3 goblins, a battle ensued. You fought against this winter wolf that seemed to hide and then stalk you out of nowhere, confronting the keen Corazo that you, Chocco, sent to his death in battle, impaled by javelins from the hiding goblins. A fierce battle raged, but it turned very quickly. Etra especially, casting first spike growth, causing one of the goblins to charge with his 2-handed scimitar, slowly being pulled apart until he died 15 feet in. You saw it tear apart at the wolf, at the other goblins, and then this lightning arrow streaking forwards, slaying the wolf, and then bursting its stomach, the lightning striking both goblins next to it and Chocco, roasting these goblins. You very quickly turned the tides of this battle. All of you watched as the final goblin vanished over the side, saying that he was going to tell somebody, and then off into the woods. You pursued. Or no, sorry, you looted the bodies of these goblins, pulling out a variety of strange knickknacks. You, Chocco, taking the body of a dead woodpecker and onto your back, where the fungus creeped and crawled over it. You found a key to a trapdoor, and unlocking this and dropping down, began to make your way through 5 feet tall, 10 foot wide, kobold dug tunnels. You heard the sounds, and as you round this corner, you can see. Just give me 1 second, actually. Close all this down here. Some tumbling rocks here. So, in front of you, as you round this corner, you can see there are a variety of stone columns, like pistons. As you stop, they're all still, but you can hear up in the ceiling this kind of click, 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 and you can hear somewhere this wood kind of moving. And for you, Chocco, especially, you can hear this kind of this hog. And then suddenly, some of these pistons, 2 of them rise up, 2 of them fall. Through this path, you will need to pass through 4 of these large stone pistons.
How long does it take for them to smoosh?
We're going to wait a little bit and find out.
Yeah.
Roll a d4 for me. You watch as Chocco gets up to the edge.
1.
1. You can just hear faintly in the distance this kind of... And slowly you see one of the pistons kind of shake and then... Not really sure. It seems probably like it's variable. You hear this kind of squeaking, some kind of a mechanism often in the distance.
Well, I know what I need to do, but I'm gonna leave it to the rest of the gang to figure out what they want to do to get through here.
Okay.
Does it look like there's any exposed gears or mechanisms that lead up to the pistons, or are
Make a perception check.
rating?
You can make
that-
an investigation check if you want to get up close and look, but that might be a little dicey. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll try that. Because my investigation is awesome.
Okay, so you're making an investigation check.
Actually, you know what? No, perception. My perception is better. Huh. Go figure. So my perception, that is going to be a 26.
So you come up to where Chocco is just kind of standing at the edge, just rubbing the spores on his shoulders. And as you kind of look at Chocco and then begin to look around, you see this path is about 40 feet long, the ceiling only about 5 feet up. You trace and look for mechanisms. You don't see any that go up the walls. Somewhere off in the distance, you hear that kind of, and then the far piston falls. And in that moment, you notice that there are these kind of very, very small grooves that would indicate probably a track or something that they're falling down, but no exposed mechanism. That is probably on top of these pistons, which is more or less what they are.
Now, when the squeaking happens,
As far as you can tell, it's constantly going.
Okay. Now, so with it constantly going, do all the pistons go off at once, or is it one goes, the next goes, the next goes, the next goes?
You wait another couple seconds, and then you see. Roll a d4 for me, please.
That was a 3.
A 3. All of a sudden, off in the distance, you hear, and then you just hear, it just speeds up. The pistons start accelerating. Unclear. It seems as if it seems to speed and slow, and there's a factor that's moderating it. Make a nature check.
Okay. That's going to be a 12.
A 12? Unclear what's going on here. But right now, these pistons.
How much space is in between each piston? Like, do we go under a piston and then there's like a free space where there isn't one, or
A couple
is it...
inches, not really like a free space. Yeah, it's these things almost rub against each other, not quite.
So there wouldn't really be space for us to hide, like just barely, maybe.
I would say, given your previous perception check, you can see 30 feet into the room. There is a single divot on the right-hand side. With some luck, you might be able to fit into that, but it's just barely kobold-sized, and you're hoping there's enough room on the inside to really crouch in. From this distance, you can't really tell, but there is a little bit of a hole there. Other than that, it's 40 feet through, and that's 40 feet of straight pistons kind of lined up, 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet. Sorry,
Okay.
10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet.
So the divot and or the vent or tunnel that we could maybe get through.
It looks like if you were running, one of you might be able to crouch into that while a piston went down, and you would be sealed in there. But when it went back up, you could continue on your progress. It doesn't seem like another tunnel.
Okay. So it's just like small little divots that we might be able to.
Yep, and there's only one of them 30 feet in. It's a 40-foot long tunnel.
Oh boy.
I'll scout ahead.
And I'm gonna use gaseous form.
So suddenly, Chocco rubs himself extra hard and into spores. There is no Chocco, and suddenly this cloud of swarming dark purple spores begin to kind of move as a single blob down the hallway. It does smell terrible.
So gross.
Yeah, I'm just like a dust cloud, basically. I'm gonna
Roll a
make my
d4.
way-
Roll a d4, Matt.
2.
A 2. Okay, so you come around the corner and you kind of go through. You hear the squealing off in the distance subside slightly, and that squeaking slightly slow down. These pistons, one of them right in the middle of your form. The spores move all around this piston and reform on the other side. No problem. You make it to the other end. You go past this divot. As you go, there's 10 more feet of tunnel, and then up on the right, the room opens up. You see running in a circle, kind of trotting at this distance, a wild hog attached to a single, kind of like a bamboo-looking arm that's kind of providing the power for this entire system of very, very simple gears. You can see the teeth don't really fit together, and so there are times that they kind of bind up, and you can see the hog begin to start squealing a little bit more, and then with a loud squeal, and then the rest of you see the pistons, and it seems like it's just this pig power again. Attached to the pig, you see this little, what looks like at one point like a helmet with the bottom that's been just sawn off, and there is a stick and a carrot. A literal carrot this hog is following.
And it's still attached to the hog, like
Yep.
in front of it?
Yep, so it's just kind of
Classic style.
dangling. Yep, very classic.
Okay.
Just circles this pig is walking.
I can't, like, do anything in my gaseous form, but I have it for an hour, and I feel like I should scout ahead more.
But you can just continue down this path if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue down for a little bit as my gas form, and
Etra and Bonez,
try to-
you watch as this cloud of spores just kind of stops for a second and then just continues down the hall and vanishes around the corner. But that is what you're doing. Etra and Bonez, anything that you guys are doing is you watch Chocco just disappear. Thank you,
We
Tom.
should figure out how to get through.
The stone pillars come down.
Chocco will find way to turn off.
Maybe.
Bones puts on a very inquisitive face and looking around our immediate area, he's going to attempt to find a big rock.
Okay, yeah. Make an investigation check. You look
Alright.
for a big rock in this tunnel of rock.
Okay, so that is going to be a 13.
So very specifically, this is a very clean cavern. It seems as if it's been cleaned recently.
Okay.
You don't find just a big rock, but this cavern is made of rocks. You go up to the wall and just take out a chunk of rock. You have a roughly, this size stone.
Okay. I'm going to walk as close as I can to the first piston without getting caught in it.
What is your strength check? Strength score, raw score. Sorry.
9.
Make a athletics check, please.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is you absolutely can find a rock. Yes.
Can't lift it.
So you break it away. You put your little scrawny arms around it. Nothing. No movement.
I'm going to attempt to start pushing it.
Okay. And it moves not at all.
Will it help?
Yes, please.
I will go assist.
Go ahead and make that roll at advantage, Bonez. Or each of you can make one roll. Up to you guys.
One roll.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea.
Better. That's a 9. That is an 8 with my -1.
Etra?
Strength check? Or
Yep. Or athletics check.
athletics? It's a dirty 20.
So Bonez, you get in there and your tiny little form, you're pushing as hard as you can, your little legs, just dirt kicking back. And then suddenly Etra comes up, and Etra, roughly your size, not a terrible disparity in size. But as you see the two hands, these two little kobold clawed hands go up against the rock, each hand, the fingers are like an inch longer than yours. And you can see the scales are thicker. And suddenly, as the hands touch the rock, it starts shifting forwards, and you guys are able to push it over to the first piston. What are you doing with it? Etra, you're the only one really pushing it. So how are you guys doing this maneuver?
What the?
I mean, my original idea was throw the rock to try to get it stuck when the piston went back up, but I can't lift that.
Nope.
Can I lift it?
With a 20, you bend down, and you see as soon as you let go, Bone just you kind of bump your face into the rock. As you back up and bump your nose, you watch as Etra just kind of gets underneath the mighty kobold leg shaking. Etra, yes, you can lift it up. It's tough.
It's all in the knees.
You're lifting with your knees, not your back, and that
Oh, yeah.
makes a difference.
Can I attempt to give her a help action?
Yeah, sure. So with whatever you're about to do, you can do it at advantage. But what is it that you're doing with this rock? You're holding it in your kobold hands.
I mean,
I'm Oh, jeez.
no. If you had something, this was your idea.
So I was just say throw it up with my help action. I'm gonna help with my mage hand because it's probably stronger than I am.
And so you're trying to just wedge this rock on the top part?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when the piston comes down, toss it up, and then when the piston goes back up with it, it might get stuck.
So Etra, make another athletics check with advantage. You get this rock ready, and suddenly this ghostly kobold mage hand, this like 3-clawed ghostly little hand, and it's poorly rendered. It's like a child's drawing, goes underneath and helps ever so slightly, making it easier.
23.
And you heave with all of your kobold might, little blood vessels breaking in your kobold eyes. But as this piston lands down, the dust up around, you heave the rock, and with the spectral hand's little lift, it goes and it sticks, this piston. And there's about a foot gap between the piston and the ceiling. You can see bones now. There are mechanisms within, little gears, and what looks like a very, very simple, kind of like a vine cord up there. It turns. For what it's worth, Chocco, behind you, you suddenly hear that stop, and you hear this pig begin to kind of grunt as if it's stuck.
Looking at the rope, fireball.
Okay. Fireball, like
No,
two
not
L's?
fireball,
Okay.
firebolt.
I was gonna say, damn, you hate rope. Okay, so firebolt. You cast firebolt. This little bit of fire up and into the air. It goes into this little crevice. This is the X-wing and the Death Star, and it strikes the rope, which immediately just burns. All 4 of these pistons down. The hallway is now blocked. Chocco, behind you, it gets a little quieter. The kind of echoes of this empty hallway suddenly a little deadened. And also, you suddenly hear some frustrated squealing as this pig is stuck.
Good job.
I made it through.
These are breaking my game.
I thought they would go up, not down.
It's called gravity.
Well, I forgot.
Not everybody goes to Kobold College, Tita. Okay, check your privilege.
Be fair, my intelligence is a 14.
So for
it's still
your
above average.
Kobold group, higher education is just talking to Etra. So this is the peak academic that you have.
With all the pillars down now, is there a space that we could actually climb up and?
It's tight, but as you look, yeah, you can definitely like crawl through. It's going to be an acrobatics or athletics check to force your way or kind of squeeze your way through with all of your stuff intact, but you can certainly make it through.
Okay. I look over to Etra.
I have an idea. Let's climb up, and I'm gonna grease it.
Okay.
Lubricated kobolds. All right. So it's only 5 feet tall, no problem. With your kobold little claws, you get to the top off the floor.
All right. I'm gonna cast Grease.
So you put the snow globe up, you shake it, and suddenly it becomes dark and black, like ink fills the whole thing. And you shake the snow globe forwards, and it's like the snow globe ejaculates a spurt of grease through these broken pillars. You watch the black kind of rainbow sheen and the sludge slowly fall down the pillars and coat this entire hallway. You have a greasy
I like
hallway.
that. I like
Attempting to just slide down the hallway.
Make a performance check.
Woo!
Etra, are you doing the same?
Sure.
Make a performance check.
Nat 20s when I don't need them, and 2s when I do.
Okay. What did you roll? A nat 20?
No, I rolled a 2.
Ah, okay.
So that would be a 2.
Okay.
That's a 14.
Etra, you crawl through, and it's tough. Even with your small kobold form, and you're a little stiff. You just carried this whole rock, you threw it, your muscles a little swollen. You're picking your way through. Here and there, you get a little stuck, and your legs have to scramble, and then shoot, you like a cork, like fall down and kind of wedge in a little bit. You have to crawl out, but you pick your way through 40 feet of pillar. Bonez.
Oh no.
You get up to the top, you cast grease. You watch Etra go ahead of you, kind of crawling through, slowly becoming slick with oil, but getting through no problem for you, or grease, but for you. You kind of get the first 5 feet in. You slip a little bit in your snow globe. Time slows down. It goes up. Your little hands go out. Make a dexterity saving throw.
That is going to be a 19.
With your whole kobold form, all 3.5 feet of you stretch out in your little tiny kobold fingertips around the snow globe, and your tiny kobold form fully stretched out, shoot, sticks between the pillars, now lubricated and wedged. But you have the snow globe in your outstretched hands. You are also considered restrained, as you are wedged, prone on your back, holding the snow globe between some of these pillars. You're kind of like crooked and angle. Your tail has to zag around one of the others, but you are there, and your snow globe is not broken. You are stuck.
Help!
After you turn around, and you can just see the tail of Bones sticking out from the ground.
You're more trouble than you're worth.
Oh, that's fair.
After you crawl over and grab onto the back of Bones. Make an athletics check, just for fun.
19?
19. You
Toughest
pull
cold
and
world
pull.
there
It's
ever
it's
was.
wet and greasy, and your hands are sliding over, and Bones is wriggling, and it's tough. It's easy to hold on to him, and you would be able to lift him out. But Bones is like just wriggling towards the ground. It's like a worm trying to get into the earth. It takes a and it's just Etra's fingers tickle all over your kobold body. You squirm them off. But eventually, you manage to yank Bones out and kind of like you push him a little bit, and he slides through some of the pillars. Use the momentum, Bones, to kind of swim your way through the remaining bit. Etra, annoyed, greasy, you make your way out as well. And the two of you, a good 5 minutes after Chocco just kind of gashes formed his way through, finally make it to the other end. Chocco, over the course, both greasy painting, but Chocco, you get to a point where you feel this. Oh, let me change this music here a little bit. Dun, dun, dun. So you get to a point where you're the tunnel is beginning to start to go up again. Whereas before it had been going kind of down to the left, to the right, and then mostly level, it is now beginning to rise. And you get to a point where you can actually see up a pretty good ways. At the very end, you can see daylight. Now, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a little bit darker, but you see daylight just this blinding whiteness outside, kind of unpleasant for the rest of you. But Chocco, you see a little bit of movement up there. Hard to make out with your vision, especially up with the light silhouetting behind, but they look like shapes. You doing anything?
I'm gonna fly as my gaseous form up, but I'm not gonna like go up to the ground level until basically I'm gonna make it look like I'm just a tuft of smoke or something coming up, because I'm just gonna keep flying up and up and up so that it doesn't raise suspicion of being like a gaseous form.
Okay. Make a performance check. I'm going to say it disadvantages your gas. But why not? Let's give it a shot.
Oh, that's... Oh, never mind. That's a minus. That's a 16.
A 16.
Yeah.
You move, and in your head, you try to like shake back and forth and be kind of smoke-like. As you get probably within like 30 feet, it's a 50-foot long, almost like a ramp.
I am in the form of a misty cloud, so like...
I know, but you're also the only thing in a tunnel, just drifting up from this warmer space to a cooler space. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you are this misty form. As you go up the tunnel, when you get to within 30 feet, you can make out the silhouettes of two goblins up at the top. There's a series of, like, next to them, a pile of refuse. You see barrels, you see boxes, you see a couple of rocks. You do see a bucket of pitch, like tar kind of stuff. You can see there are a number of torches lit and kind of stuck into these holders off on the right. You can see crossbows. Both are kind of, you see one of them resting his arms on top of a barrel like this, his head kind of turned to the other one. The other one, and you speak Goblin, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can see the first one, the one that has his head like this is listening. The other one is just kind of saying, yeah, so I think Ollie's probably going to take care of him if he gets past us, but we should just run if they get past halfway. It's hard talking like that. And the one that's leaning on its side just kind of says, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense, but I feel like we should maybe just sort of leave Shank room. She has a bed really nice. And the other one kind of turns, looks up. Wait a second. And
I'm still moving up, just floating up.
Just kind of squinting. You watch these two goblin eyes look as you kind of pass. Now within 5 feet. The one that's down there just like, does that look strange to you? And the other one that's just kind of talking from the first place, just, no, and just turns, and they continue to kind of talk. You pass over top, floating out in the daylight, kind of cascades over your gaseous form. You emerge onto this wooded sort of like a little flat part before it begins to slope up again. We'll get to that in a second. Back to Etra and Bonez. You are on the other side, now greasy, a little bit tired. And you can see to your right, there is now the source kind of grunting. Actually, you see suddenly this pig grunting, kind of pulling against a rope, this carrot out in a stick, and then the pig stops. You see primitive thought behind the eyes, and then the pig suddenly, like a dog, sits. The carrot swings closer to the face, and it begins to eat this carrot.
Good for him.
Third tries the charm. So you see this pig now sitting, probably the source of the movement for the mechanisms. You trace the gears up, and indeed, that is probably what this was. Built by kobolds, you can tell that.
Okay. Continuing down the path where crud, I forgot your name. Darn it.
Chocco?
Chocco, thank you. Sorry. Where Chocco went, as we're walking, I'm going to press to digify myself and Etra to clean the grease off.
So yeah, you kind of take the snow globe, still inky black, and as you shake it and the water clears, from you and Etra's body, the tar and the kind of oil and grease itself falls away and melts into nothing. You
So
make your way up. You come to the bottom of a ramp. You can see daylight up at the top, etc., etc. There are two goblins silhouetted with the two of your passive perception. Actually, hang on one second. I think it's Chocco's, actually. Chocco's 18. Etra, you can actually see these two goblins and this little tuft of smoke drifting above them, as if one of them seemed to have just like puffed on a cigarette or something. But you see these two goblins kind of up, like leaning on barrels. For you, Bones, you just see some like little shapes up at the top, maybe some rocks or something.
Hmm.
All right. Chocco, as you come up to this kind of wooded section, you can see maybe like 15 feet across, there is a clear path straight with earthen steps that have had the grass stripped away and the dirt packed down to form very, very even steps that trace up towards what you now see is this single squat, kind of dying birch tree with a huge hole carved in the middle. That maybe 200 feet up on this hill, there's a 5-foot wide path cleared of a very dense forest on either side. And the one tree that kind of stands in between slowly begins to turn around. As this happens, on the other side of you, these two goblins suddenly straighten up, not at this tree end, that as you see the huge beard of moss swing as it turns.
Is this
But
the same as the chode tree that we saw?
no, this is like 10 feet away from you.
Okay.
Seems to be between you and that tree. But you can hear the goblin that was kind of leaning on this barrel suddenly prop his head up. He looks down and goes, there's something down there. Etra, you watch as these two goblins suddenly turn and very pointedly look at Bones. You'd imagine they see Bones and thus probably also you. Chocco, you hear one of the goblins go, "It's finally time!" And he shoves this barrel down. The other one is going to reach and grab a torch first and start lighting it. But I need everybody to roll initiative as you guys are going to be climbing up a thing. Different music, Alien City. Okay, Goblin Barrel Pushers getting a 10. All right, Chocco, what'd you roll?
18.
18. Great. Etra.
27.
So far, when I write the initiative, I just put Etra in a whole different section. There's like 3 lines and then everybody else. Bones.
15.
All right. Look at the Blacktooth clutch. Okay, so it's going to be Etra, then Chocco, then Bones, then the goblins, and then perhaps this tree-like individual, though he's pretty slow. Etra, you see one of the barrels begin to roll down. You see a flame at the very end of the torch begin to move towards the second one. What do you want to do? They're about 50 feet up on this slight incline.
They're 50 feet away from me.
50, yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna run towards them.
Okay. What is your movement speed?
On my first turn, it's increased by 10 feet, and I think kobolds are 25. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
So it's
Actually,
35.
fun fact, they're 30.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Little tiny guys are 30? Wow.
Solid.
Okay.
So that makes it
Surprised.
40.
I was surprised because I was playing a kobold. I was like, I have 25 movement speed, and then my DM's like, you have 30. I have
Nice.
30.
So with 40 feet, you get 10 feet away. You rush up and you get right to that first barrel as it's kind of bounding towards you.
I'll dash, I guess.
Okay, you dash, and as you do, so you're going to have to do something to get over this barrel, or under this barrel, or through this barrel.
Donkey Kong style.
Very much so.
So is it bouncing or is it just rolling?
Right now it's rolling, but the ground is so uneven at any given point it could just kind of hit something and bounce off. So at the moment, rolling.
Higher levels. Dank gang.
Does it... And I can't go around it?
No, you could try. It's roughly the width of this tunnel, so it'll be tough, but you could certainly try.
I'm going to attempt to wedge myself into a corner,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
So you're gonna move action dash and then bonus action wedge.
Yeah.
Okay, so you flatten yourself against the wall as best you can. We'll get back to that. That is Etra, who's flat against the wall. Chocco, what would you like to do? Bones, you are on deck. Chocco, you are floating up in this tree, turning roughly at your height, probably about 15, 20 feet tall.
Okay. Does it seem like it's turning? Is it turning like towards the goblins, or is it just like kind of turning?
If you'd like to make an insight check as your action, you certainly could.
Yeah, I guess I can't really do much else because I'm a ball of gas. So...
Yeah, make an insight check from your gaseous situation.
And I'm gonna also continue to kind of eye in the sky, I guess, towards the path that I am gonna assume is like the edge of this kobold ruin / where they're keeping Krajek.
Sure.
That is insight. That's a 19.
You see the tree turning. You see as the trunk shifts, it actually splits into two massive legs. And as one picks up, the roots up and kind of swirl in the air before they twist down and seem to pull the tree to the ground. It turns totally, and as it moves, you see this long kind of mossy beard, little mushrooms kind of dotting it. There are areas of it that are damaged and almost like blight has taken hold. But as it turns, it does seem to be looking past the goblins.
Okay.
Anything else, Chocco?
I guess I'm just gonna move my 10 feet, and that's it for me right now.
All right. So as this end turns, you float. Bones. You watch as Etra dashes up and then flattens into the wall. What would you like to do as these barrels approach you 50 feet away?
There is a barrel that is next to the two goblins and one that's already rolling down.
Yep, about 10 feet further.
The one that's rolling down is 10 feet away from them.
Yep.
I'm going to cast Shatter.
Okay, roll a D100 first.
Okay.
Because they have no idea what's in those barrels. They're just rolling them at you.
Fair enough. That would be a 55.
A 55. Alrighty. So this barrel, picking up speed, you reach out with the snow globe. You see these false cracks appear before they disappear and fly towards this crate and cast Shatter.
Now, sorry, I want, so it's on a point.
Yep.
I wanted to hit the goblins, the barrel, and the other barrel, because they're all within 10 feet.
Yep, you certainly could do that. So that is a what saving throw for the goblins?
That is a 14 saving throw for the goblins.
And it does double damage against the barrels, right?
Yes, Constitution.
They both fail. That is a 2 and an 8.
Nice.
Alrighty, then I am going to roll for shatter damage. That is going to be 3d8 thunder. And since it is thundering, there is going to be a loud boom.
Okay. It's a 55. I'm going to roll for the other barrel. It's a 73. Love it. So.
All right. I rolled 18 for damage.
18. So as you cast Shatter, there is this loud that makes the dust just kind of swirl past your face. As this occurs, you watch as both of those barrels explode into splinters. Sort of. We'll get to that in a second. Both of those goblins, you see their faces flattened, the lips back on the side, these large teeth, very visible. You can watch as the skin tears and little elements from these barrels whiz past, cutting them open, lacerating them. They're badly hurt. The first barrel, the one that went past Etra and kind of is closest to you, as it explodes, the wood a little bit more clinging together because this barrel is full of rotting fish heads. And as it splatters across Etra, it splatters across these goblins, and it kind of coats the tunnel all around. And as it finishes, you can see like these chunks of fish, and it smells of like burning bad fish. The second barrel that explodes is full of, it seems, pillows. And so feathers everywhere. The area around Etra and the two goblins is considered lightly obscured.
Okay.
So for what it's worth, and as Etra, you are now covered in fish cuts and feathers as these two barrels shatter around you.
Disgusting.
So sorry.
Yes. But the barrels don't hit you for what it's worth, so that's something. These goblins also covered in fish guts, covered in feathers, and also very badly hurt. You can see shards of wood, like out of the skin, out of the armor. One of them is like shrieking with the eye, like a little splinter coming out. They're pretty badly hurt. Anything else?
I am going to bonus action on my club Shillelagh and move 30 feet upwards.
Okay, bonus action, you hold out the club. Power emanates from it, and you go 30 feet forward. That is your turn, Bones. That brings us to these goblins. There's the one goblin who is just like, ah, my eye! He like reaches back and pulls out a bottle and just wings it blindly. Etra and Bones, can you each roll a d20, please?
Not a dexterity check, just a d20.
D20 to see who it's going to go at.
All right, 10.
Okay, so it's going at you, Etra. This bottle flinging down the hallway. He's going to make a disadvantage attack roll. That's a natural one. So you watch in slow motion. He reaches back, kind of holding onto his eye. You see behind him there is a bottle that looks like a Molotov cocktail. You can see like a clear liquid and this rag out of it. The rag, little bits of cinder on the end of it. He reaches past that and grabs a bottle of wine, holding it by the cork, throws. Shoom! The cork comes off in his hand, and Etra, this little cork, hits you in the forehead. The bottle itself falls to his feet and shatters. He is now soaked in wine. That is his turn. The other goblin is going to back up, breathing heavily, and is going to turn and just kind of run. Running past, he turns up at this large treant, and Chocco, you see him just kind of say, "Don't let it by, or Shankroot will be so mad," and just runs past him and up this hill. You see him go about 50 feet up. About getting most of the way. Getting about halfway. That is the goblin's turn. That brings us to this massive tree. It stops. You can see it turns and looks to one side and looks to the other, and it just seems to kind of settle. And for you, Chocco, to all the world, it's almost like it's like getting ready to field a ground ball. You see these two massive branches onto the big roots, and it waits. That is its turn. That brings us to the top of the round. Etra, then Chocco, you're on deck. Etra, what would you like to do? You peel yourself away from the wall, fish guts and feathers all over you. You watch one goblin wing a bottle of wine that smashes at its feet. The cork hits you in the forehead and bounces to your feet.
I'm gonna run up and stab the one that threw the thing at me.
All right, I flicked my head real hard. That hurt. Go ahead, make your attack roll. You close the final 10 feet.
27?
27 hits. Go ahead and roll damage on that. You see he's holding on to this splinter of wood. He's like trying to pull it out of his ruined yellow eyeball.
7?
You watch as he pulls it out, and there is a crimson spurt of goblin blood. Ah! He turns and looks at you. You stab him again right in the ruined eye, and he falls to the ground dead. That is one goblin gone.
And then is there anywhere in the immediate vicinity that looks like I could hide behind?
Yeah, so you have 20 more... You have, 20 more feet of movement with just your movement. You can move the further 10 feet out, and that will put you outside where there are trees and all kinds of things you can hide behind. So yeah.
Perfect. I'm doing that.
Make a stealth check for your bonus action. Bonus action hide.
That is a 28.
Yeah. So you, you burst out, you stab this goblin in the eye right as it pulls the shard of wood out of its eye, and you hurtle over it, and then leap to the left and out of view from everybody. You're gone. Etra, anything else?
That's it.
Chocco, you as a gaseous form see this bending over end, just waiting, and then beneath you, you see Etra suddenly burst out and then disappear into the underbrush. What do you want to do?
I think I want to follow the goblin that started running up the hill.
Okay. What is your movement speed?
10 feet of flying speed. So I'm gonna fly, I guess, because I can use my action to dash.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna fly 20 feet and sort of like start making my descent towards an area that's a little closed off.
A gust of wind seems to carry this billow of smoke slightly faster, and it kind of catches up to the goblin as it descends towards the ground. That's your turn. Bonez, what would you like to do?
All right.
You look up, you see one of the goblins fall dead on the ground. You won't see the other goblin, you don't see Etra, it's just you.
All right. The goblin knows I'm there.
You guess.
All right. Then
You also don't see any goblins, for what it's worth.
Oh, I don't see any goblins?
0 goblins in your sight.
Okay. I'm going to bonus action dash to
Okay.
get up to where or the top where the barrels came from.
20 feet gets you to the top, and suddenly, daylight.
Goblins around me now or no?
As the daylight hits your eyes, squint to adjust, and as they focus, you look up and up and up, and 15 feet tall, there is a massive tree person kind of looking down at you. You see this gaseous smoke vanishing behind him, and then you see in the distance behind the tree, running up a hill, a goblin.
The little fart cloud.
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt to use the 40 movement I have left to get away from the tree and then use my action to hide.
Okay, so you get up, look up, and then just dart to the right. Make a stealth check.
That would be a 22.
22. Both 22. So, opposite sides of this clearing, Etra, Bonez. This tree slowly tries to follow Etra, and then slowly tries to follow Bonez, but is now just kind of standing in this clearing. Anything else, Bonez?
Nope, that will be it.
It's that lone goblin's turn. Chocco, you watch as this goblin crosses 25 feet and then dashes up to the very top of the hill. There's a big, 30-foot gap between the hill and this birch tree. And as he moves, you watch as this goblin leaps up, and one of the branches from this dying birch tree, almost seems to stretch to meet it and snags the goblin out of the air. Starts to pull this goblin in towards this big opening in the tree.
Oh no.
That is the goblin's turn. It brings us to this huge tree creature now. Slowly, you hear the wood as it turns to try to follow you, Bonez, but it stops. this big voice in common. How smart is this? Yeah, in common, this massive creature speaks. Now, I only have to stop you. Suddenly, Bones, this shaking gets much louder. You look up, and one of the trees that you're hiding behind kind of bends in protest as it bends it to the side. Sorry, brother. It is going to look for you. What you rolled a 22?
Yes.
Woohoo, it rolled an 18, which is a total of sweeps across. It doesn't seem to notice you. Bones, you feel the moss across your face, but doesn't seem to notice you. The tree comes back into its place. This ant maw over you.
No one's here.
You see the head. Turn it, look, but that just disappeared. Great role play. That is its turn. That brings us to the top of the round. Etra, what would you like to do?
Can
You see
I?
this, it's moving opposite you. Its back is to you now.
Do I
It
see
has
where
a tree. It has a little tree butt crack on its way.
filing that away?
Yep.
Do I see the goblin from where I am, or no?
From where you are, turning up through the underbrush, you just see it. Its little legs kicking in the air before it disappears.
So it's totally gone.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna take this opportunity to sneak around and try to get past what the tree was guarding.
Yeah, no problem. At this moment, because the tree is like now in the other side of the forest on the clearing, like looking for Bones, you can just go straight up the clearing and just go up to the path.
I'm doing it.
There you go. So 30 feet of movement, 30 feet of dash, 60 feet up, about 120 feet away. You see, or no, sorry, directly over you at the moment, there's this cloud of Chocco. You see the spores, and you know what it is.
I hold my breath.
And then
You know what it is.
You know what it is. You see above you now the goblin being carried by a birch branch. That is your turn. Chocco, beneath you see Etra.
How far beneath? Like how?
About 20 feet.
Okay. I guess I'll drop down with my movement 10 feet, and then begrudgingly release my concentration to land on the ground.
So for you, Etra, you watch as this cloud, and as the cloud away, you
One last
see
little moment to savor the fact that I was one with the fungus.
you see Chocco there, eyes closed in rapture, as the fungus and the spores just away from them.
You are so weird.
Chocco moans out.
And I guess now's as good a time as any. I'm gonna plop down. I'm like relatively not. I'm like in a safe space relatively. Yeah.
You look down, you see this pile of refuse and the dark cavern. You see this tree and just bend a whole tree to the side looking for something. That is probably about 80 feet away from you. I mean, up to you.
I'm gonna I've got 20 feet of movement speed now because I'm not gas anymore. So within the 20 feet, can I move like off of this pathway into a more secluded area?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'm gonna move, still moving up away from the tree end and towards the birch tree, but like into a more hidden area.
Okay.
And then I'm going to begin conjuring elemental.
Okay. So You like break into the underbrush here, past like the thin, kind of wiry branches of the yew bushes, these flowerless azalea bushes kind of like scraping at you as you go. You kind of find this place where there's nothing but kind of bugle grass and
Like
little bits of lady's mantle.
plopping some making soup with all the different.
So you begin to rip out like elements of like you pull out of the ground shoot, like a wild parsnip and you slap it on the ground. You pull out some of the grass and the
I'm like,
fungus.
ooh, that woodpecker I grabbed earlier is perfect for this.
You slap that in the middle and slowly this thing begins to form. The woodpecker, just for flavor, is going to be the head, 1000%. But we're going to get there. So you begin to cast for a minute summon elemental. We'll get back to that. That is Chocco. Bones.
All right. So after my near-death experience,
It's 20 feet away from you, which is a step away for it, and it's looking now for you still.
Okay.
Make an insight check. Just
Insight.
for fun.
Okay. That is going to be not great. All right, hold on. That is going to be 6.
Okay. So 20 feet away from you.
All right, 20 feet away from me. I am going to. Can I see Etra and or Chocco?
You can see Etra. You cannot see Chocco.
Okay.
Etra's like at the top of the hill almost.
Okay. Can I tell that's where the tree was guarding?
I mean, the tree was in this clearing, and there's nothing from this clearing but the path that you came from and the path that Etra's up. So you could assume.
Okay. Alrighty. Then I am actually going to tree's 20 feet away from me. 20 feet directly to the right of him off the path. I'm going to do a minor illusion.
Okay.
And it is going to be my voice.
Okay.
And it's going to be,
Oh no, don't find me over here.
Slowly, the head turns. Seems to be following that voice.
wonderful. I'm going to attempt to get 25 feet past it, then 5 feet into a bush, and then hide.
Okay. So as this thing off to the side, suddenly anybody watching would see Bones run, break cover. You fall midway through, but scramble and then scrape yourself into a bush. Go ahead and make your stealth check.
I keep rolling 8s, but I have plus 13 to my stealth, so that's
There
a
you go.
20 or 21.
So you're not very stealthy in this moment. You scramble in and your head into this azalea bush, which and then falls onto you, covering you completely. You are well hidden. But that is your turn, Bones. Anything else?
I used my bonus action to hide, so yes.
Okay, so for this moment, I'm going to take you guys out of combat as this tree searches. If he does roll well, we might get back into it. But I'm going to bring us over to this little great adventure music. At the moment, Chocco, you sit casting your spell. Etra, you kind of up near the top of the hill. You're able to watch. If you continue up just a couple more feet, you see this birch branch bring the goblin full all the way across this gap and swing him into this big opening, probably about 10 feet wide, 15 feet tall, in this squat, massive, kind of diseased-looking birch tree. You
How
turn back. You
far away is the goblin from me?
now, probably close to like 50 feet. You can't see him. He's disappeared into the darkness of the tree.
Okay.
Chocco, you lump bit by bit organic matter together. And every time you slap something in, this massive pile of spore and fungus and plant matter and woodpecker begins to move more and more. You slap a big clump of moss and this arm stretches out. You slap like a stump, a bit of like decaying log in, and it into this pile, and a leg presses out of it. And suddenly, in front of you, there is this kind of like swamp creature. Functionally, it is a water elemental. However, it looks like this mushroomy, like a big lump of moss has like risen and now stands.
I give it a hug.
And you see these massive fungal arms gently hug you back. You all watch that happen.
I
That's
hate
it.
this.
So much.
Hate all of this.
So much.
Far across this chasm, in the darkness, suddenly, Etra, you hear the voice of Krajek cry out in pain.
Krajek.
Oh, my beautiful. Save Krajek.
And it just starts moving off. As it crawls across, you watch as the grass in its wake just die. Little bits of this purple, almost like Zerg-like creep begins to like crawl in its place and become like a deep purple disease-looking lichen. With a passive perception at 19, Etra, as you turn within this lichen, here and there is other movement. And you watch. This little black and purple maggot kind of pushes through for a moment before burying back down. But you watch this water elemental surges forwards and then stops as there is now a 50-foot gap between it and the opening in this birch tree. It turns and looks at you, these two dark eyes, kind of like, how?
Wait, the hole is.
So this is a gap, like this path goes up to like a ramp, and then there is a big 50-foot gap between this ramp and the hole in the tree, which is about 20 foot up on a 50-foot tall trunk, and then a dying canopy of branches on top.
Should have been in gas form. Oh.
Chocco didn't think this through.
And you can see at this moment one of the branches is moving, and it's like slowly drifting towards you before it kind of stops, and it's like hanging, drifting a little bit in the wind. It's the same one that took that goblin across.
Is it reachable?
Not reachable, but if you were to jump, you'd be about 10 feet underneath it.
Can my blobby monster grab it?
If you ask him, he's going to try. It looks like he probably could, yeah.
I'm gonna go like climb onto his back, like Daddy,
Okay.
and then be like,
Grab him.
So you all watch as Chocco walks up to this elemental and literally walks into its leg, which absorbs him, and then suddenly from the
head's
back,
just sticking out.
the head just sticks up from the back of this massive creature. Chocco, when you lift an arm, the elemental lifts an arm. You're like Gundaming it right now.
Yes.
I'm gonna say actually your head's like up the chest kind of, so you're actually Gundaming this.
Slimy finger.
Yeah. So oh God.
Ew.
I haven't seen Gundam in so long.
Hold up. Hold up. It's gross, gross, gross.
So Gundam Chocco, you are at the top of this inside of your water elemental, and as you reach your hands up, the water elemental grabs onto the branch. The branch seems to bend down to touch this elemental. The elemental grabs onto it, and the branch begins to pull. This elemental is bigger than the creatures it's meant for. You feel this kind of like bend. It doesn't seem to be able to lift the elemental.
I'm high up enough now, right?
So with the elemental holding it, if you wanted, you could like pull yourself out and just walk up the
I'm gonna
arm.
like swim up to it and then walk on and crawl across myself, and then I'm gonna have the water elemental water form its way across.
So Chocco, you watch
Like-
as Chocco's head from the bottom
Basically, like
looks
the
up,
thing, just
and then
sort
like
of
an
flying across.
elevator, Chocco up the chest through the face, the eyes part as Chocco up through the head, and then Chocco, you reach up and climb up the hands, and then up and swing your little kobold feet onto the top of this this branch, and you kind of pull yourself up a little ways, and then you're going to have the water elemental water form onto it.
Yeah, like kind of like it's reverse
I got you.
syrup. Yeah.
The hands grab on, and suddenly the form begins to swarm itself up. And suddenly, as the feet leave the ground, the branch, and with the weight now gone, it a little bit elasticizes and fires. I need to make a dexterity saving throw. The DC is not terribly high. It's not like a slingshot, but it's abrupt.
That's like what's it? DC 7, dirty 20.
Dirty 20. You see as Chocco is flung off, and the elemental and pulls him back in.
My
Chocco,
natural
you-
stickiness.
Yeah, Chocco, you cling into the elemental that kind of cradles you, but you're fine. You're basically inside like a bee's nest of this swamp elemental as this branch slowly carries you across, like bow down heavier than it should. Chocco, at this moment, as you slowly move, it's going to take you like 2 minutes to cross. You see that the weight is too much. You are going to be like collided with the tree just underneath the level. But we'll get to that in a second. Etra, Bones, you watch all of this occur. And as this orb of gross fungus and sludge with the head with the eyes on either side is just the corpse of a woodpecker. You see that all happen. What do you guys want to do?
Like help.
I think it's too late. You got this one. Is there's no easy way across this gap for us?
I mean, you could just climb down the hill and walk across the ground and climb up the trunk if you want, I guess.
Cool. That's what I'm doing.
So you watch as Etra kind of puts her claws in and scrapes down this kind of hillside. You catch a little bit, you stumble, but you kind of right yourself and you walk 30 feet down and then begin to walk towards the tree. Bones, what would you like to do? By the way, but for the speed, you actually pass Chocco. You're now like a little bit in front of him.
Wonderful. All right. Let's see. I may just do. Oh wait, actually no. Silly me. I have jump.
There you go.
I'm gonna yeet myself across the gap.
So
No,
you
I'm gonna
shake
use
the little
my-
snow globe, and you can see all of a sudden a little spectral Bones appears in the snow globe, and then you take your little finger and flick the snow globe, and suddenly the little you sing, and you as a form like a second delayed, you fly into the air. So all at once, Etra, you kind of walking underneath, you see Bones shoo fly overneath. He is hurtling towards that open gap. Bones, you're going to get there quicker than everybody. Etra, you're just kind of walking. Chocco, you're getting the slowest. You're slowly, this branch weighed down by the swamp elemental, and you ponderously makes its way across. So this is how all this is going to happen. This is spectacular. Let me find you a picture, Bones, of what you're going to land into all by yourself.
Oh no.
And I can't believe I have the perfect map for this. So you go flying through and poof, superhero touchdown in a hollowed out gap. You look around, the darkness welcoming to your kobold eyes, and
Oh.
directly in front of you, you see a huge jaguar laying on the ground, snakes all coming up from its shoulders. It begins to kind of paw to its feet. You see a series of triple-decker, tiny little goblin bunk beds all scattered across the left-hand side of this. You can see the inside of this tree space that you're in has been like violently peeled away. And remembering the outside, you saw this tree kind of dying. That's probably why. It's been very recently cleared out. You smell sap and fresh wood. And you actually see these triple-decker bunk beds are made from the same birch wood. There's a platform carved out of the same wood with dozens, maybe 100 various cushions, pillows, stuffed animals, blankets, all heaped into a pile in the northwestern corner of the room. And there on that platform, kind of peeling herself out of these pillows, you can see a goblin, pierced ears. You see little weird flares of this kind of fluttery energy, almost like strange bits of fairy-like energy kind of drifting off of her. You can see the one goblin that escaped, badly injured, kind of sitting on one of the bunk beds. The other one, the one sleeping night shift goblin guard, now sleepily crawling out of bed. But Bones, you land right in that doorway, which is in the southeastern corner of that map. Matt, if you wouldn't mind putting that in Twitch chat, I'd appreciate
It
it.
is done.
Thank you, sir. Bones, you land first. And so actually, instead of rolling for initiative, this is what's going to happen. So Bones, you are going first. Then the regular goblins. Then Etra. Then this jaguar-like creature. And then Chocco/Elemental.
The elemental, I believe, has its own turn.
That's okay. It's still too far away, so it's not going to get into combat quite yet.
Yeah.
And
But,
then
like,
at the very end of that will be Shankroot. So, Bones, as you land, looking up, you see all of this. About 15 feet in front of you is a smoldering, dying campfire, a little cushion off to the side, like a pot kind of cast over there. What do you want to do?
Do I see Krajek in here?
So, at a quick glance, you do not see Krajek, but this is like a cluttered space.
Okay. Then I am going to.
Is your passive above a 16? It is not.
It is not. It is a 15.
So, yeah, I have no idea where Krajek is.
I hope I don't accidentally murder him.
Let's
Let's see.
Oh,
No, different book. Oh, sorry. One
No
sec.
worries, no worries. I have to bring up the correct combat music here, anyways. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Bones, goblins. So it's going to be Bones, then the goblins, then Etra, then this jaguar creature, then Chocco/Elemental movement phase, which I imagine will get you into rolling initiative for the elemental, and then Shankroot. So, Bones, you're up first.
Okay.
What are you looking for?
Thunderous or not thunderous? Thunderwave.
Ah, Thunderwave. Great spell.
Yes. I
Okay.
I have it here. Sorry, I
No
was
worries.
trying to find it in the books.
Yeah, so it's like a 15-foot cube, I think, centered on you.
Yes.
All right.
All
so
right.
we
Yeah.
go.
So it is there's one action and 15 cube on me. Vocal somatic, instantaneous. Da, 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 da. All right. So I am going to move over. Now would since I just cast jump, would
Yep.
this be a new start of like
This
a
is the
turn?
start of a new turn, yeah. So we're getting into combat. This is starting all new turns.
Okay, cool. All right, then I am going to move over to get as many of the goblins as I can and just like hit the jaguar and the snakes.
The jaguar and the snakes. Okay, so you are going to go 5, 10. You kind of crawl right between one set of bunk beds and this campfire to your right, and then stand in between one of the goblins and this jaguar-like creature. How do you cast the spell?
Actually, sorry. Was I technically hiding?
When you swing into the doorway of the space, I'm going to say probably not. No.
I figured not. Just checking. Okay. So I'm going to jump up and I'm going to cast Thunder Wave at 2nd level.
Okay. 5, 10, 15. So in doing it there, you're going to get both goblins and the jaguar.
Alrighty. So, must make a Constitution saving throw. 14 save.
So it's going to be a 6 and an 8 from the goblins, and for this jaguar-looking creature, it's a con save, you said?
Con save, yes.
It is going to be at 19.
Well, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So half damage for him.
I'm sorry, 18, if that matters.
Still succeeds, so no.
Okay.
Okay, so, the 2 goblins are going to be taking... are going to be taking 12 damage, thunder, and are going to be pushed back 10 feet.
So you watch these goblins, their whole face is flat as they are pushed back and then flung into the bunk beds. How far did they go?
10 feet.
10 feet? So each of them, one of them goes up and onto the platform, and you see like head over heels before poof into the pile of pillows. The other one gets slammed directly back into that kind of platform. Roll 1d6.
And I would like to point out that unsecured objects also get immediately pushed 10 feet away.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. So I don't know if you can see this on that map. The 2 bunk beds that are in that are actually tied to the walls.
Okay.
So those actually are the only ones that are not going to get pushed. But a bunch of debris goes flying. There's a teddy bear that goes flying. We'll get there.
Oh, poor teddy bear.
It's on the map. All right.
6.
So each of that one goblin. So Roblin gets tossed up onto the platform, and Goblin takes an additional 6 damage. Anything else, Bones?
I am going to.
Roblin, the one that you actually hit with the with that additional damage was the one that was hurt from before. He is dead. So as this thunder wave out, he is tossed. He hits the back of that ramp and then ragdolls to the ground, dead.
Are there a lot of feathers and pillows that got kind of pushed up in that?
Everywhere in the air.
Awesome.
Yeah, little feathers, all that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna run into those and bonus action to hide.
Okay, yeah. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Yeah. So you just duck back into this chaos of feathers. Make your stealth check.
All right, that is going to be a. I'm getting terrible stealth check, but they're still going good. 23.
They're still pretty goddamn good. So
Yeah.
you vanish into the feathers. It is now the goblin's turn, or the goblin's turn. You can see the one night shift goblin, which just woke up from his 3 hours of sleep that he got, pulls himself up, looks around. He's gonna make a perception check for an action. Doesn't seem to see you. He turns around. Boss, what do you want us to do? That is his turn. That is going to bring us to Etra. Etra, all the way back outside. You just walk across the grass.
I mean, do I hear any of that?
Oh yeah, you're only 30 feet away from the tree.
Okay, then moving.
Okay, so you cross over to the tree with your movement. Looking up, it is like a 20-foot climb to get to this this platform.
Okay. Go as far as I can, and that's that.
Do you have a climb speed?
I don't think so.
Okay, so with the dash, you can climb. And you start by getting a little 15 feet up. You've begun to climb. That brings us. Is there anything else, Etra?
Okay.
Brings us to this jaguar's turn. This jaguar creature, we'll say. It is going to. Can it sense you? Your stealth is 22. Cannot. It is going to. Okay. looking at this thing, the jaguar's eyes look back and forth. The snakes, before suddenly the snakes all draw back. The jaguar's mouth opens, and this gas erupts into the area, filling the bunk bed space. Go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw. This goblin is going to make a Constitution saving throw. And roll a 19.
All right. Nat 20.
Nat 20. You have to cough this gas out of you, and you feel your eyes begin to get heavy, but you shake your head. The adrenaline running through you, and you do not fall asleep. Can you imagine? Probably could have. And actually, that is going to get to Shankard as well. Shankard is going to use a legendary resistance to turn that natural 1 into a success. So, that is the action. It does not have a bonus action. It is going to circle around and leap, landing on the platform in front of Shankard. That is its turn. That brings us to Chocco and the Elemental. Slowly, ponderously, this tree moves you. You swing over and are now right above and can drop onto this platform. Roll initiative for your elemental.
Alright. What is an elemental's dexterity bonus?
Add 2 to it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a 21.
21, alright.
And should I roll my own initiative too?
Nope, this is your initiative order. So, new turn, you begin right at the bottom there. You have your movement. That was a tree's action to move you. So.
It does say that the elemental gets its own initiative.
Yep, and so that's the elemental is between the goblins and Etra.
Okay.
So, Chocco, what would you like to do?
I'm going to use my wild shape to set up my good old symbiotic entity.
Okay, and what does that look like?
Basically, like, some of the elemental's mush, when I kind of, like, scoop out of it, stays on me, and I'm still sort of in, like... It's basically like I went from being Mushroom Varia suit to the Mushroom Power suit, if I were Samus.
Okay. So, this is an interesting thing that you're doing. So, your concentration on that elemental breaks.
No, it doesn't, does
If
it?
you wild shape, I believe it does.
I don't think so.
Concentration doesn't break if you wild shape. You can stay concentrated.
Yeah.
1 second here.
Otherwise, I would not do that.
Wild shape. Since you have a beast, stay a beast, transformed, keep statistics, transformed. Doesn't break your concentration on spells you've already cast, or taking actions that are part of a spell that you've already cast. Yeah, alright, there you go, you're fine.
Great.
Michael, you're breathing pretty hard there.
Die.
It's all good. So, no problem. You maintain concentration on this and you morph. The fungal forms on you swelling and bulging. You see these black and purple toadstools all over your body. And you become this huge mushroom Chocco.
And that's my action. So I'm now like on the edge of the tree.
On the map, you are where Etra is. Yeah, in the middle of that opening in the southern part of the tree.
Okay, cool. I am going to say to my my spore creation.
Protect us!
Okay. You see the spore creation turn, and it gets ready to protect you. Anything else?
I myself am going to use some of my movement just to. Actually, I'm going to stay within 5 feet of my allies, but I'm going to like move into the room a little.
Okay, so you take 5 feet forwards.
Yeah.
That is your turn. That brings us to Shankroot. So, this goblin up at the very top of the platform walks up to the edge and looks down. You see the sharp teeth kind of smiling out. Looking down at this swirl of feathers and knowing that there's a kobold somewhere in there, Shankroot is going to look down and go, welcome to Shankroot's abode, eh? And he's going to pull out a hand and squeeze it, and suddenly the ground beneath you, Bones, begins to vibrate, and the wood itself begins to stretch up and wrap around you. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw for me, please.
Good thing I'm good at those. Should have kept my mouth shut.
What'd you get?
So I got a 7.
Ooh, okay. You are going to take 12 points of bludgeoning damage as the wood itself seems to splinter. You watch, this is a violent motion. This isn't the wood becoming alive and grasping you. This is the wood being forced to twist around you, the wood splintering as well. And it slams you to the ground and breaks as it does. You fall prone, and you are taking 12 points of bludgeoning damage.
Evasion, I'm gonna take 6.
Okay, but you still fall prone, and that is your reaction, correct?
No.
Mm-mm.
Ah, okay.
Evasion's just a static effect.
Dope. Look at that, Bones.
That's
Okay.
just being a rogue.
So, Bones, you are simply
Can't
prone
hit
and
a
a
rogue.
little bit hurt. Oh, I take that as a challenge.
Oh no!
So that was an action. As a bonus action, I'm going to go ahead. You see Shankroot reach to the ground, and from the wood, a staff shunts itself out. Grabs it, and Bones, you in particular, watch as the energy that swarms around it is very familiar. You watch as Shankroot casts Shillelagh.
Woo!
That is Shankroot's turn. That brings us to Krajek. From within this pile of pillows, you suddenly hear,
Help me!
some of the pillows vibrate violently, and you watch as a teddy bear falls from the top, and Krajek's face pokes out, kind of trapped on the top of this pillowy pile. But that is Krajek's turn, and that brings us to the top of the round, Bones. What would you like to do? This, Etra, you are on deck.
Is my elemental...
Oh, sorry, right, the goblins are dead, so the elemental is between, so Bones, the elemental, then Etra, then the jaguar. Bones.
Hey, Krajek, how you doing?
Krajek's like up on the platform, maybe 20 feet away from you. So from over there, he might respond on his turn.
Alright, okay. So, now the BBEG is on the throne.
Up on that raised platform, yeah. In that picture, it's the gray goblin that I didn't paint because it wasn't originally the model I was going to use.
Alrighty, I am... He knows where I am, because he just cast a spell on me.
You would guess, yeah.
Alright, I am going to... use my... No, actually I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run up to him,
Okay.
and I am going to Shocking Grasp.
Okay. So as you reach out and cast Shocking Grasp, as a reaction, he's going to cast Absorb Elements.
Ah, you saucy bitch.
So go ahead and what is that? That's a melee attack.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Shocking Grasp is a cantrip, it is melee, it is touch, and I gotta make the spell attack, so that is going to be a 25. No,
Yeah,
sorry,
that-
24 to hit.
That hits, yeah.
Alright, cool, then, he's going to take 1d8 lightning, we are level, okay, so it's 2d8 lightning.
There you go.
He's gonna absorb all of that.
Mm.
That is... Alright, so that is going to be 12 damage.
12 damage. You watch as it doesn't quite do as much damage as you want, and the staff, this shillelagh, is now sparking with that energy. So,
He can't take reactions until his next turn?
oh no, he just uses reactions, so that's technically true. Anything else?
Yes, I am going to... I'm going to
wanna do?
disengage and move as far away from him as I can.
Okay, so you bonus action disengage. To get up to him, it took you 5, 10, 15 feet. So bonus action disengage. If you want, you can step back and just drop off the back of the platform.
Yeah.
Okay, so you step back 5 feet down, back into the now settling feathers. That is Bone's turn. Goblins are dead. It is the elemental's turn. And it surges forward. So, do you get to control it?
Yes, it follows my commands.
Okay, so what are you commanding it to do?
I'm commanding it to go and whelm the not the jaguar, but Shagru.
Okay. It goes forwards. Bones, you turn, and the swamp elemental rolls over you. You are left with like maggots falling off of you. There is like bits of fungus caked into your scales. It's disgusting, but you're unharmed. The same cannot be said for the rest of the room. As this elemental sweeps through, the beds are obliterated and left behind these like piles of goopy fungus. That is going to be Whelm is what? It's a dex save? Strength save?
Strength save.
Strength
And
save,
it's each
okay.
creature within the elemental space, actually, so I don't think the jaguar is close enough anyway.
It is,
but
unfortunately. But Shanker, I don't know, that's pretty good. What is the DC on that? 14?
15.
15? It is not going to succeed. So as it swarms...
On a failure, it still takes 2d8 plus 4 bludgeoning damage.
Yeah. It failed. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, roll your damage on that. It is also grappled.
Not on a...
Yeah,
Oh,
Shanker
wait, no.
failed.
Oh, he failed. Oh, okay.
So he's taking the damage, and he's grappled.
Nice. Okay. That is 11 bludgeoning damage, and he's grappled.
Okay.
And he can't breathe, unless he can breathe underwater.
So you watch as all of a sudden this whole
He's
like...
technically restrained.
So you watch as this swamp elemental absorbs over top Shanker. And this goblin, you watch as it goes over top. The goblin looks up. Oh, fuck. Just absorbed. That is the elemental's turn.
Yeah.
Etra, for you, as you now kind of like climb up and leap to the top, land, you look up. You see Bones kind of at the bottom of the platform looking up, covered in fungus. Up on top of the platform is this pile of fungus that is like over top something, just kind of concentrating on it. You see Chocco maybe 5 feet in front of you, arms outstretched, just like so happy. It's rare to see Chocco this happy. What would you like to do? And the jaguar, maybe like 20 feet ahead of you, also, just small.
I am. Hold on, I think I know what I'm doing. As a bonus action, I am going to cast. Where is it? Ensnaring Strike.
Okay.
And I'm gonna shoot the jaguar with my short bow.
All right. Go ahead and make your attack roll.
$27.
27 hits. What is that? Strength save?
Yes.
That's going to be a 14.
It needs a 17.
15, not that it matters. So,
Needs
yeah, sure.
a 17.
This arrow, and as it hits, these ropes seem to like spread out of this relatively squat arrow and wrap around.
That is 9 points of damage.
Nice. You see the jaguar turn and look at you. The snakes all turn as well, hissing.
And I'm going to take my second hit as well.
Go for it.
For 29.
Absolutely. So that hits. Roll damage on that.
Absolute unit.
Crush it. It's another 9.
9 points of damage. Again, as it kind of gets hit again, this arrow sticking into the jaguar.
And from the ledge, like, I don't want to get any closer into the room, but is there, like, a place I can hide or, like, dip back down the lip?
Where you currently are, at one point, just 10 feet away, there would have been a bed, but that is smashed into the wall at this point. It's slim pickings right here.
Cool. I'm just going to hang out on the ledge then.
Alrighty. You hang out on the ledge. At the end of your turn, Shankard is going to use his first legendary action. And he's going to cast... Actually, he's going to use 2 legendary actions to cast a spell. And he's going to cast a Dispel Magic at 3rd level. What level did you cast Summon Elemental at? That's 5th, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he has to roll for it. Nope, no commands. That is going to be ability check, spellcasting ability. That is a 20, which I believe is 10 plus the spell's level. Yeah. So as he casts this, you watch as this elemental it begins to bubble and ooze.
Is he able to cast it as he is restrained?
He is, as he does have a meta magic option that allows him to not use somatic or verbal components. For what it is worth, he is a sorcerer. However, as he is casting this, second here. From within this creature, you see this bubble. This creature, and you can kind of feel the fungus here. You feel the pain of this fungus as it bubbles from within. Something seeming to disrupt the unnatural form. And suddenly, as it melts around, Shankroot just appearing, the ears spring up. And Shankroot turns to look at you, Chocco. You're going to have to try harder than that. Anything else? Or sorry, that is its legendary action. So that brings us to...
So did my mushroom man just evaporate?
Yeah, that's dispelled, unfortunately. That is going to bring us to the jaguar. This creature... It's going to go for you, Etra, and it's going to bound towards you and make 2 attacks.
He's restrained. He can't...
He is restrained.
He's
That's
restrained.
a good point. That's a great point. So, on his turn, he has to make a strength saving throw to try to break that.
I believe it's
What
at
is
the
it?
end of his turn.
End of his turn. That is a 22.
Yeah, that'll work.
Second highest it can roll. So, it sits there, it surges, tries to move forwards, and you see the snakes all tensing up against it, kind of reaching out. You hear a rattling happening, but it cannot reach you. It snaps and twists at these vines and manages to rip free. But that is its turn. That brings us to Chocco. What would you like to do? Shankroot's on deck.
How far away is Shankroot from me at this point?
Shankroot from you, 5, 10, like 10 to 15 feet, depending on how you look at it.
Okay. I'm going to cast Blight on this motherfucker.
Okay. On Shankroot?
Yes, he just
All right.
killed my baby.
That's a great spell. Okay, so. It's a saving throw. Is it Wisdom Con?
Con save.
That's pretty good. Shankroot. Constitution. That is going to be a flat 20.
Dang, that is a save.
Dope.
He
Still takes
takes-
half damage?
Half of 8d8 necrotic. So let me just
A lot of
roll that up real quick. That's let's see. Math is hard. Math is hard. Math is hard. 16, 12, 20. So that's 20, 35 halved.
35 halved. All right, 15, 16, 17 points. And that's necrotic, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that washes over Shankar. You can see it hits. He grimaces, turns back, and kind of sneers at you. Anything else?
I say,
You must become one with the fungus.
and I'm gonna move closer to him. Actually, from where he is, and then where I am, is Krajek kind of like off to the side, but in between
He's
us?
5 feet behind Shankar. Exactly 5 feet behind Shankar in the pillows.
Okay. And then up and to the left of me is Bonez, kind of.
At the moment, yeah, up and to the left.
Like
I
kind
thought I
of
was off
by
the platform.
right, but you're kind
Yeah,
of
but you're
by
still
where the beds were, right?
You're 5 feet ahead of where Chocco is and to the left, like right where the stairs are.
Okay, I can get like right up in his face, right?
Yeah, you can get right up to him, 25 feet.
I'm gonna go right up to him so that I'm within 5 feet of Krajek.
Okay, yeah. So you get right up, and you have to actually kind of diagonally cross over. So you are now standing on the edge of this slightly raised platform. So you're just to the right on that map of where Shankar is.
Okay.
Anything else?
I believe. Oh, I guess I can use my bonus action to smack him.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Let's see. In the old. Are we low level sunlight, or do we not have sunlight?
Light is dim, so you are at a flat roll here. You're fine.
Okay, cool. That's 17 plus stuff to hit. That's...
Plus how much? Oh wait, plus your like spellcasting modifier. Yeah, you're fine. That hits.
Cool. So since it's just the unarmed strike, it's 4 plus then I get the d6 of damage from my necrotic bullshit.
Yes.
So,
Are you sure it's 4? It's not just 1 point of damage?
Oh no, that's my hit DC. Yeah, it's just 1 point.
Yeah.
So it's 1 plus the 1d6.
There you go.
Extra stuff.
Every little bit helps.
So let's see. That is nice. That's 6 more necrotic damage.
There you go. So,
And then on his turn, I'm going to use my reaction right away because he's within 10 feet of me.
Yes. However, at the end of your turn, he's going to use his final remaining legendary action, and he is going to reach out and hit you with his shillelagh. So what he's swinging at you is it was at one point a like a living piece of wood.
So
there's still.
I get to hit him first, I think, because when I use my reaction, it's when they move into a space within 10 feet of me or start their turn there.
So it's not the start of his turn. It's at the end of your turn. This is a legendary action.
Oh, okay.
So, this is going to be a 17 to hit.
That's a tie. So
It's a tie, so that hits. You're going to take 5 points of, for what it's worth, magical damage. As the shillelagh slaps into you, and you take that massive 5 points. He pulls it back and kind of grins at you. But that's his legendary action. At the start of his turn, his legendary actions return. You have a reaction at the start of his turn?
yes, at the start of his turn, he's going to take a 2d6 of necrotic damage if he fails a con save.
Oh, he fails. That's
Okay.
great.
He only takes 3 necrotic damage on that. Those
Every bit
bad
counts.
rolls.
Okay. That's all you're doing for your action?
That was my reaction, so it's his turn.
Okay. For his turn, he is up top. You are right in front of him. So yeah, he is going to cast. Okay. That's a really mean way of doing this. How is it?
I'm in danger.
So you watch as he grins and looks at you, and he says, "A fungus, huh? That sounds like a whole bunch of nature. Nature made me 3 foot tall and green. I hate nature." And he points, and there is a 20-foot radius of emerald energy that arcs out of the ground. It is going to hit the jaguar and all of you. It's going to hit everything in this room. As acid erupts out of the wood, burning and pitting the wood itself. If everybody can make a dexterity saving throw, please. The jaguar fails.
Woohoo! Natural 20.
Nice. All right. So that's a natural 20. Etra?
24.
24. That's a save.
14.
Okay, that's a failure. So as this ripples out, those of you who failed, anybody who rolled under 16, is going to take 28 points of acid damage as the acid just ripples out. Coming out of the actual ground, this wood that's kind of pitted and corroded already begins to bubble it out like sap, and it erupts out. Additionally, Bones, this acid seems to stick to you. At the beginning of your turn, you're going to be taking more damage.
That was 28, you said?
28 points of acid damage, yes.
So with all that, I am going to evasion and then use my reaction to half that again.
Okay. So in total, that brings it from 28 half to 14 half to 7.
Yes.
You're still covered in acid.
Wait.
That is his turn. He is going to... Oh, and actually, at the end of that... Interesting. At the end of that, Etra and Chocco, roll a d20 each, please.
15.
Okay.
19.
Chocco, all of a sudden, you feel this heaviness in your stomach. You are poisoned for the next hour.
Oh no.
That is going to be his turn. That brings us down to Krajek, who, struggling from that inside... Ooh, actually...
He has
Interesting
pack
point.
tactics.
Yes, but interesting point. So I didn't roll his save.
Oh.
He's taking full damage, so he takes the 28 points of acid damage. You hear this, it's like you just sizzling up from the scales. He's burning in there, but thrashing around, seems unable to break free. That is his turn. That brings us to the top of the round. Bones, what would you like to do?
All right. I would like to. Who's my nearest ally?
At this point, that is going to be... that is going to be Chocco.
It's your boy Chocco.
Do I take acid damage on my turn or?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So at the start of your turn, you take...
Any save or just take?
You just take...
Oh, sweet.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 13 points of acid damage. as this kind of like continues to drip off of you.
Hmm. All right. That's bad. Okay. So I am going to get to my closest ally. And then I'm going to cast chromatic orb.
Okay, so you get up next to Chocco. You can see it's like just kind of in the midst of this combat, just directly off the side of you, you see Shankroot, and then you cast chromatic orb, chromatic sphere. Can't remember what it's
And
called
I'm going to do it for electricity. Now, I'm assuming the water elemental that was on him, that water after the acid damage is probably just all gone.
now. Absolutely, it's just kind of yeah.
Fair enough. I'll still
Well,
do.
you know what? For what else I'll say is roll a 20-sided dice.
That's a 4.
Yeah, no, just burned away, sizzling into the wood itself as it pits and corrodes.
All right. I'll still do. Electricity.
Go for it.
All right. That is a. So that would be a 22 to hit.
22 hits. Roll damage on that.
Alrighty, sweet. So that is going to be 3d8s, 8, 7. Where'd you go? 5. So that is going to be 20 damage. And then 2, 6, 12, 18, so 22 extra.
Tell us how it
Sneak
happens.
attack.
That's exactly how much you needed. Tell us how it happens.
I take the snowball and shake it above my head as the snowflakes fall and twirl around the snow globe, turning into an electrical field. And I point the snowball at Shankroot and scream in Draconic Nehuin,
And
which means death.
and as you hear your clutchmate scream out death, this lightning crackles and swirls, and this you feel the wind billowing behind you. Things all pushed to the side of the room. This jaguar skidding to the side, his nails digging deep divots in the wood itself. Etra, you have to like hang on to the edge as the gust is pushing you back. But there is this moment of silence, and then shroom, this huge burst of electricity. Chocco, directly next to you, you watch as Shankroot is hit dead in the center by this, and she screeches out as the skin shrivels away, revealing like bone and then organ and then just ash. And Shankroot falls to the ground. You can see elements of this tree begin to crack and fall. But because you killed Shankroot, you watch as this jaguar suddenly kind of becomes kind of crackly and then just disappears. Down below at the bottom of this hill, this treant that was kind of slowly, very slowly climbing this hill disappears. And somewhere far away, the corpse of this white wolf, also very out of place here, disappears. And because it is midnight, and because you did kill Shankroot, with Krajek just kind of in this pillow pile, struggling away.
Pull him up and be like,
Stop getting catching! It's not my fault. You give me the worst dog.
He just snaps the bindings and kind of pulls himself to an upright position.
and then I'm gonna start to absorb Shankroot's body into the rot.
Stop
So, yeah, you can see Krajek turns and just goes,
Why are you always doing that?
and you can see for the rest of
All the fungus
you, Shankroot's
will all
body
become the rat.
dead, arms back, tongue lolling out. Slowly, you see the body like kind of like pulled before into the fungus. And Chocco becomes just a little bit taller, and the fungus becomes just a little bit thicker. Chocco.
You're so gross.
You close your eyes as the fungus swirls around you, and you feel its close connection. And suddenly, as you open your eyes, you are in a dark place. You feel yourself surrounded by darkness, this warm kind of embrace. And in front of you, you see...
Moldy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, boy.
You don't see anything, but all around you feel the damp mold and fungus, as if that's all that exists. Just this warm, slow sink into decay.
Ooh.
And in front of you, you see almost like a gauze part in the darkness,
Ooh,
as
that's
if a
hot.
window appears.
Ooh.
Behind it, you see a woman unfamiliar to you, beautiful. Flawless alabaster skin, cloaked in this dark, floor-length black dress, no sleeves, and just a large black hat that covers the face. You can see the chin and the mouth, these sharp, beautiful features, also just jagged, and at the same time almost violent. But she looks down. You don't see her eyes, but you get the sense of an immense connection.
I got a chub.
You've done well, Chocco. The rot appreciates you.
I appreciate the rock.
I have a gift for you, Chocco. Go to Kol Taram and claim it. You see, it just kind of fades back and the curtain closes. And that is where we're going to end for the evening. So
nice.
Thank you guys very much for joining us for this little kind of step aside from Adventures in Alberon, our main campaign, to Kobe Quest 2, the Green Meanies, who were goblins. So yeah, you guys all survived. Again, Michael, your longest living character,
Seriously, I'm
has survived
very happy.
22 hours in game so far.
We are an elite squadron of kobolds.
So far, you guys have managed to vanquish not only Grung by passing by them, but also goblins, and also your fears, really. But you guys have yet again rescued Krajek, which seems to be a theme to Kobe Quest. Huh. And you now find yourself just one step closer to home. But it is 12:11. This is where we're going to end for the evening. Thank you guys very much for joining us for Kobe Quest 2. Next week, as a reminder, we will be beginning Bloodroot, which is a 4-part mini campaign, which is taking place concurrent to our main campaign. As a reminder, the events of this particular session are happening the second real world, or the second in-game day of the campaign. So this is happening roughly 2.5 months prior to what's going on right now. You all ran into Chocco in Kol Taram, so you know that he makes it that far. So that is all that we know going forwards. You know a little bit about Chocco's connection to other parts of Alberon's world. But next week, we will be in Dungannon for the beginnings of Bloodroot. We will be joined by guest player Drew from Dicey Encounters. But until then, please stay safe. It is crazy out there. With the storm that's brewing, try to stay dry as well. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.